This is delightful. I'm so glad we came here. Feel those vibrations at Camp Video Games. Welcome to Camp Video Games. This is Junior Counselor Sean, joined by Junior Counselor Josh.
Hello, I am your junior camp counselor, here to remind you, especially Camper Zell, that unfortunately the cafeteria is out of hot dogs. Repeat, the cafeteria is out of hot dogs. That's a Final Fantasy VIII reference. We're talking about Final Fantasy VII here at Camp Video Games.
And we sure are talking about Final Fantasy VII. And last week, we got Cloud up to the Wall Market, and he's with his new pal, Aerith, and they're looking for Cloud's old pal, Tifa, who is apparently at risk of being absorbed into the sex trafficking.
That's what's going on.
So, yeah. If you haven't listened to our previous episodes covering the events of Final Fantasy VII, we're just kind of working our way through the story. We're talking about how it makes us feel, and there's a lot of feelings in this game,
right? And as we are a podcast that also talks about video game adaptations. We will definitely, when we get to the right point in the story, we'll be watching I don't remember the title, the OVA, the short anime, and Advent Children will be obviously after we finish the game.
Yeah. So we got a lot of Final Fantasy VII content coming at you.
Hey, maybe we'll get into one of those novels.
I'm all about that. Yeah. Campers, if you have any requests or if you know of other Final Fantasy VII adjacent adaptations, why don't you give us an email over at campvideogames@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. I read everything. I don't respond all the time, but I do read it. So there's some there's some kick in your butt to do something, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So the big idea that Aerith comes up with when they find out that Tifa is about to audition to be Don Corneo's next wife.
Yeah.
Which that sucks.
Yeah. Is it? I don't think I paid enough attention to the sort of the Don Corneo storyline here to remind myself exactly how it works. Is the premise that he's auditioning for a new wife every night and, shucks, that one just wasn't the one.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way he's rolling, right?
It's the glass slipper approach. You just keep putting feet in that slipper until you find the one that fits.
Yeah. I don't think he's ever going to find the right fit.
I think that's the point.
Okay.
I think that's
a bit of a sleazeball. Anyway.
Yeah. Don Corneo, as we learn, he's kind of like the mob boss running the illegal operations of Wall Market. So, of course, he's got an Italian last name.
I never put that together.
I just also as a fan of Final Fantasy VII and watching other people play through it and read it out loud. I hear a lot of these teenagers calling him Don Corneo. Come on, guys.
Corneo.
If you read a name and it sounds dumb when you say it, you're probably saying it wrong.
Yeah.
Like every name should sound cool if you say it. Like that's just in general, that's just a tip in reading new names. Try to say it the coolest way possible, and you're probably closer to saying it correctly. Anyway, Josh, let's that
is a cool way to say it.
Josh.
So I started after I think visiting Don Corneo's mansion with getting into the Honeybee Inn. Before I went to the tailor who gives you your dress, I think. What is that possible? Did I do that?
Yeah. So when you go into the Honeybee Inn,
it is wild. I want to spend some time talking about what happens inside the Honeybee.
Let's get into it. Yeah, the Honeybee Inn, that is the brothel of Wall Market, and I mean, you look at it looks like Little Tokyo, with just like all of the neon lights. It's like super garish and neon and bright and cute. But then behind those cute things, there's There's a lot of
Holy moly!
There's a lot of human activity going on in there.
Have you played any Yakuza games?
No.
They all take place in this same neighborhood. Called, I think it's Caramacho or something, which is based off a real, not quite red light district, but sort of like a sleazy entertainment district. And somebody who knows more about Japan, correct me if I'm wrong. And there's just like that's kind of the best equivalent to like Walmart and places like Honeybee Inn I've seen in a video game.
Interesting.
Otherwise, yeah, they're interesting.
There's a couple of games in that series, the Yakuza series.
Oh, there's more than a couple.
Yeah,
I'm like 4 hours into Yakuza 0 out of 6 plus a bunch of spinoffs.
Cool. Does that like? I mean, just for the briefest of like sidebars, like does that stuff get magical in that game, or is it pretty realistic in terms of like I thought like you fight a dragon at some point in the Yakuza games, but I don't know that for sure.
There's one called Like a Dragon. So what I've played so far is just like a typical mob story.
Okay.
You've got sort of super fighting powers.
Okay.
That you glow.
Dope. Okay.
So
so when Cloud goes to the Honeybee Inn with Aerith, the item that you can get, because right now Cloud and Aerith have decided to dress Cloud up like a beautiful woman so he can infiltrate the wife auditions with Aerith so they can save Tifa.
Yeah.
When I did this for this playthrough, I knew what to do to get the best item, because as we go through, we're trying to get the best items to complete Cloud's perfect outfit.
Yeah. And I didn't. I just played it how I felt like playing it.
Good. Yeah. I was hoping so, because you probably know more about what happens in the Honeybee Inn on top of what happens just to get the best item that I went through.
Do I?
Yeah. Dump your trauma on me. Go ahead.
Holy moly. Okay. So did you peep in the rooms?
No.
Oh my God, dude. So if this is something that can easily go missed in a playthrough, is that Cloud has the opportunity to, before you go into your own room, to peek through the keyhole into other people's rooms. And so
is that you actually controlling how you look through the peephole?
Yeah. So if you look at the video preview.
Check us out on YouTube if you want to see video assets of this podcast where Josh shares his playthrough.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best to describe what's happening here. So the first room I went in, it's almost kind of sweet. It's like you have to. It's weird. You move this keyhole mask thing around, but it turns out it's like some old couple trying to have like a renewed honeymoon type vacation or something. And it's mostly kind of innocent, and that is what it is.
It's called pegging, honey. It's gonna change
very much
everything.
that energy. Yeah. Where they're like, we're just trying something new. Then you go to the other keyhole you can peep through is buck wild, dude. It's some real horror show stuff. So, as best as I can translate what happens in this room is there's somebody who's dressed like a medieval king, and they're talking about resurrecting Satan. And there's different like layers of commentary happening. And if you hang out long enough, you'll find out the best I can sort of give any sort of analogy is it's like an Eyes Wide Shut party.
Yeah.
And President Shinra is the king who's wandering around. Like,
that's the President Shinra?
Yeah. He's the one dressed as a king wandering around.
That rocks. I've never seen this before.
Wild.
I've played this game for more than 1,000 hours in my life, and I don't think I've ever seen this before.
So please go to the YouTube and watch this part if you've never seen this. It's also, I think it's our first reference to the Promised Land. They're talking about like Mako infused, sort of like warriors. It's so wild. And this is, Eyes Wide Shut is not the like original version of this sort of like cult of the rich and powerful kind of conspiracy theory, but they lean into it so much harder than I remembered. Like, I think I've seen this scene once before at some playthrough, but like, oh my God.
This is wild.
Losing my mind.
I had no idea. That is noteworthy for sure. So yeah, okay. What this game offers the player is a lot of semi hidden cinematics / like dialogue opportunities on top of like gameplay, like, you know, hidden weapons and items and things like that. And like, this is one of the first games that I've played that did this, where like these days, you know, the sky's the limit with what games can really offer.
Yeah.
But back, you know, this game's a quarter century old at this point.
Yeah. If you play a CD Projekt Red game like Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk, it's like you've got to play it like 10 to 12 times before you're going to see everything by design.
Yeah. So Cloud is he's in the Honeybee Inn, just to like kind of like streamline what Cloud is like going to get out of this. First, before you go in, some random guy like gives you his card. He's like, "Oh, I can't decide if I'm going to go," and he just like gives you his card. Almost just like, I don't want this decision anymore. It's a strange. I don't know what the equivalent would be. Like, you know, just like, because it's a members brothel, I suppose.
Yeah, he's like handing off his entry into a land of endless pleasure. What am I thinking of? Some sort of decadent but unhallowed space. There's some sort of real world analogy I'm slipping the name of here.
Huh. Like Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah, a Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah. A Chuck E. Cheese membership.
Land of forbidden pleasure. Give me the rat pizza.
Yeah.
But when you go into the room that Cloud will get the lingerie, that's the item that you're getting out of this. You see Cloud's like, it's like a psychic double of himself that's asking him, what are you doing in a place like this? It's is Cloud a virgin, you think?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I never really I've never thought of that before.
Yeah.
But he like, I feel like at this point of the game, you know, and maybe even for a lot of people playing through this game, at no point do you understand what Cloud is going through. It's very cryptic, but if you were to just look at it from a diagnostic perspective, like Cloud has epilepsy and he keeps like having these like seizures that kind of knock him out when there's something psychically
it's like a PTSD that's triggered by certain visual
stimuli.
Yeah.
But Cloud blacks out and he's revived by a gigolo.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't.
Cloud's passed out on a circular bed, and there's a man in like yoga shorts who is just like slapping him awake. But the game makes a point of saying Cloud's HP MP restored. It's very funny. But you have the opportunity, as with all like dialogue, to be either polite or rude. And it's just, his name's Mookie. Mookie.
Yeah.
It sounds like a slur.
Yeah. There's a lot of, man, I like, there's just a lot of queer coding throughout Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
That they're just kind of like, yeah, here it is. You know, like there's no, I think we talked about this last week. It's like, it's not the butt of the joke.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? It's never just like, oh, this is gay. Isn't that weird and funny? It's just kind of like, no, it's just the kind of guy who hangs out here. Whatever.
Yep. You know? That's why this game has aged better than other of its contemporaries.
Yeah.
Although we'll get to some.
Not that it's, it ain't perfect.
It is not perfect. So as Aerith stayed outside while Cloud went into the brothel, and he gets back and there's just a bunch of guys that are kind of ogling her. But right now, Cloud is getting all the cute outfits, outfit components. And that just means talking with some of the NPCs, figuring out, because they don't specifically tell you what you need to get. All you really need is a wig and a dress. I think those are the only two actual items. Yeah, you only need a dress and a wig to get into Corneo's mansion. But if you want to be chosen as one of his brides, you got to complete the ensemble with some cologne, some lingerie. I think, is there makeup? I can't remember. Let's see. We got dress, cologne, lingerie, a tiara, and a wig. Those are the items that you can get to complete the ensemble.
And did you go all out and get picked?
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
yeah. Run us through the rest of the things that we need to do to get picked.
So
because I told you, I just did the bare minimum, and I knew I wanted to go to the Honeybee Inn.
Yeah.
And then
that was wild. I'm glad you did, because that kind of blew me away. And I didn't even pay. Okay, so the first item that I got is the silk dress, which the dressmaker is not at work. You find I assume that's the daughter. I can't tell the gender of this little polygonal character, but the dressmaker's daughter is overwhelmed because her father has resorted to just drinking at the bar instead of
another very like sort of mature little side story.
That happens a couple times.
Yeah.
There's a couple of different characters that you meet that are like, their child is like, my dad's a drunk and he won't stop drinking.
Yeah.
And like, even in this conversation we'll have today, like there's another one that we'll get to maybe. So you got to go to the bar and convince the dressmaker to make a dress for Cloud, because Cloud wants to feel pretty. Mm-hmm. And that inspires the dressmaker. It's like, well, I've never thought of doing that. Like, this is great. Like, I'm not an alcoholic anymore.
You've solved my alcoholism.
When the dressmaker asks what you want, you're given some options. It can either be something that feels clean or soft, or something that's shiny, or something that shimmers.
Yeah.
And
I followed my heart. I don't remember what I picked. So
when you think about like what Don Corneo wants, he's flashy. He's a sleazeball. He wants the low hanging fruit. So you go with something shimmers. Anyway, but you get the silk dress is the ideal dress that Cloud can get. You go over to the gym, and again about like having characters who are unapologetically living their genuine selves.
I love the gym. I love the gym bros.
Yeah, you meet Big Bro, who looks like just like a lovely lady that is really interested in perfecting the art of the squat.
So into squatting, they're just there squatting.
They're like
nonstop.
There's nothing but leg days at this gym, and this is we've gone through some of the other like quote unquote mini games that Final Fantasy VII offers, and the squatting game. It's really just you just press buttons in sequence without interrupting it, so that Cloud can do a fluid motion of squat, 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 squat. Yeah. As you're doing like a squat off with one of the gym bros, and this one it's a fairly simple. Like all the other mini games, it's very simple. It's just, and they were just trying out new stuff. Like I feel like they knew that they could fit in a couple of. It's variety for the gameplay.
One like little tweak they could have made to this, I was complaining about as I was playing, is like I got distracted by the rhythm of the music. I was like, if they'd lined this up to the rhythm of the music, it would have been a lot less of a brain like twister.
Yeah, interesting.
Like I screwed up once or twice because I was listening to the music too much. I'm used to like rhythm games now, which is I don't think they do that with like this part of the game, but definitely the transformation part of the game. It's in the remake is incredible. Totally just worth looking up on YouTube or whatever if you haven't played it. They turn it into like a dance rhythm game.
That rocks.
Where like the buttons of the controller are like flying at the screen. And you have to hit 'em
DDR
in
style?
rhythm. Yeah, DDR style with the music.
That rocks.
But Cloud and this amazing new character they made for this part are doing this like choreographed dance on
I'm
stage.
seeing
at
some
the
like
Honeybee Inn.
Sailor
It's
Moon
amazing.
arm waving
It's so
kind
good.
of stuff.
It's good.
That rocks. One of the things I really liked about watching your gym bro who you're competing against, when you mess up doing squats, they have to like stop and like scratch their head, like, how do I do a squat? I love that. It's very, very charming. But yeah, if you win, they'll say, the big bro will say, I'm a man of my word, and gives you a blonde wig. I think the options, you can either get a blonde wig, a dyed wig. Oh, okay. If you win, you get a blonde wig. If you tie in the squat competition, you get a dyed wig. And if you lose, they'll give you a plain wig that has apparently been stored in a slightly unsanitary spot. So that's fun. But right now, Cloud has a silk dress and a blonde wig. And I mean, at that point, you're ready for a night out on the town, but Cloud really wants to just feel
Look very pretty.
Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So, the sexy lingerie, is what you get.
That was the Honeybee Inn.
That's option? From the Honeybee Inn.
Yeah. The only other one I did was the,
also they'll give you makeup if you go to one of the rooms. The Honeybee girls will put makeup on Cloud.
I missed that. I did the guy who's trying to compete with the vending machine at the inn.
Mm-hmm.
He asked you to go get him something from the vending machine. I only had enough gil for the cheapest item. I don't know what I was supposed to get, but that's what I did. And I don't know. I forget what the item is that he gives you. Is that like the perfume?
That's you get the let's see. The guy who he sends you to the inn to see what they're selling in the vending machine. That's where you get the tiara.
Okay.
He gives you that as thanks, because I forget what they were actually selling in the vending machine, but it was just like some bullshit.
Just a bunch of slop. Who cares?
And then you go to the diner, you order the special, and they'll give you a pharmacy coupon, and you take that coupon and you trade it at the pharmacy for a digestive medicine. And my first thought was to go to this guy R6 way back.
Okay.
No, it's not it. He doesn't need digestive. We'll learn what he actually needs later.
Yeah.
But you go to the bar's bathroom where someone's got a case of the ass blast, and they'll give you some sexy cologne. And
do you really want sexy cologne handed to you by a guy who's been like shitting out his doo-doo ass?
I feel like he should save the sexy cologne for the bathroom he's just ruined.
Yeah.
But
like you think like his hands have just been all over a nasty bar toilet while he's shitting out his doo-doo ass.
I was learning about the rugby team whose plane crashed in the Andes back in the 70s.
Okay.
And like I think The Simpsons, when they did some bits about it, but they accidentally said they were soccer players. So like pop culture was always like, oh, it's a soccer team that resorted to cannibalism.
Uh-huh.
But somebody had like an open wound from the plane crash, and they used cologne as a disinfectant in it. Because it is alcohol based, so isn't that fun?
Yikes.
So as long as you wash your hands, it's fine. But so kind of breeze through like the getting the perfect outfit, and then you'll go back to the dress shop. Cloud will get changed. Aerith will pick a dress, and now we got. I hate Cloud's hairdo, but that's a whole different. I'm not a pigtails guy.
His hair with the pigtails.
Yeah, it's cute. I guess I would love to see.
They made it work.
I would love to see remake version, because like I bet Cloud is legitimately beautiful.
Yeah. I don't recall. This is the part of the game that you have to replay it like 9 times to get everybody's dress.
Absolutely fuck that.
Yeah, and it's very complicated and very time consuming if you want to master everything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. That's a big no thanks for me. But so now that you're all cute, you're ready to go to Don Corneo's mansion. And the lackey who is guarding the door is just kind of like a hubba hubba, like, oh boy, like you definitely belong in here. I know,
eyes popping out of his skull.
And you go in, there's like a concierge that's like, okay, well, if you'll just follow me to the sex dungeon, we'll get your paperwork started.
Yeah, I don't know who goes to that first room they take you to, the as aforementioned sex dungeon, and goes, yeah, this is a good place to be. Yeah,
this I see a bright career future here.
Right. I spent a lot of time on stream obsessing over the stairway into the sex dungeon.
Yeah.
This has just like haunted me since my childhood. There's just like something's wrong about the perspective of it.
Yeah. That's the problem with pre-rendered backgrounds, is like sometimes it doesn't translate correctly.
It's just like, and it looks like they like stretched Cloud out to make him fat at the top. I was trying to solve this if you watch the video version or my stream, you'll see a lot of time spent running up and down these stairs.
Yeah, it does look off. And also with this, because this is not a remaster, it's just a re-release that seems to have had some quality of life
upscaling
changes.
To like the 3D models or something.
The pre-rendered backgrounds like lost a lot of fidelity, and they look significantly worse.
Yeah, they belong on a CRT for sure.
Yeah. So Cloud and Aerith, they find Tifa in the sex dungeon. I mean, it's a torture dungeon, sex dungeon. There's like there's
wild
a table with a human outline on it, and it looks like tie-off points. There's like torture devices all around. There's
like a burning furnace in the corner, and some of these devices look like they're designed to be heated.
Yeah. Don Corneo is a monster, apparently.
This is a bad guy in a bad place.
Now, having some subversive sexual fetishes, there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's all consensual, et cetera, getting out of the way.
If this was just you and your partner and you're like, everybody's cool and we love it, fine. Yep. But we know enough about this guy to be like, this is messed up.
Yeah. And then don't get me started on his private island and
and his weird temple on the island and everybody on his flight logs to the island.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, so when Tifa realizes that this beautiful woman is Cloud, her first she's like, wait, are you okay? Like, she doesn't know, like, maybe Cloud, because the last she knew was Cloud fell 1,000,000 feet.
I forgot.
And then I think in Tifa's head, she's just like, did Cloud just like wake up and like, he's like, I'm a woman now. Like, cause that'd be kind of cool, right?
It just kind of, it sort of like, solved some of his like dysmorphia, like brought him to terms with it, which would honestly kind of make sense. He's aggressively overcompensating for some masculinity issues.
What with
that kind of resolved throughout the game
with his big chode of a sword?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, Tifa, she's like, oh, Cloud, glad you survived that plummet from 1,000,000 feet high. And then we find out that no, she's not a victim right now. She's undercover. She's entering prostitution for the cause, baby.
Yeah, but she'd never go undercover alone.
That's true.
A mistake.
That's true. Yeah,
especially
what's Barret doing?
I've seen enough SVU that like anytime a female detective has tried to go undercover as a sex worker for a trafficker, bad things happen.
Looks like she tried to punch her way out of this one. So I feel like Don Corneo's like bride hunt. It's like the Bachelorette, or The Bachelor. I don't know. You watched that show.
It's like
right?
a somehow even sleazier version of The Bachelor Nation. Yeah.
Where they're not, well, at least he's not feeding them drinks and getting them to fight on camera and like doing all that stuff. But, so Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith, they're all in it. So Aerith and Tifa meet. They're like, there's a little bit of like possessiveness of Cloud from both of them. They're like, so are you? And they're like, no, are you? And they're like, no, maybe.
Yeah.
No.
Well, this is another relationship that they really did a good job evolving in the remake.
Yeah.
That a lot of this tension is like immediately dissolved. There's a lot less focus on like which hot waifu is Cloud gonna end up with.
Yeah,
and
good.
This whole like from here through the next 2 or 3 chapters is a lot of the focus is Tifa and Aerith like growing to trust each other.
That rocks.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they are meeting each other in weird times right now.
Yeah.
Like they just like Tifa has just committed. It seems like this is her the most recent Mako reactor run was like her first like real like getting her feet wet as an eco-terrorist. And then she thinks that her childhood friend died as a result, so she enters into prostitution to learn more about Shinra. And then she's like, then her friend comes back from seemingly the dead, and he's got like a cute new friend, and just lots of dynamic shifts.
A lot to take
Yeah,
in.
it is a lot. So I applaud Tifa for acknowledging that Aerith. Well, I applied everybody involved besides Don Corneo. Because like Aerith, she's just like, oh well, like we need to help that person. Like that is her just like good nature. She is a person who saves other people from their troubles. And she's
more points for Aerith.
Oh, for sure.
We love her.
So Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith audition for Don Corneo, which really just means he like sniffs them, looks them up and down. Just really objectifies, dehumanizes.
Yeah. There's no element of this guy that you're supposed to enjoy or get along with.
Yeah.
Again, very well characterized in the remake that the balance of the humor of his absurdity and his creepiness all comes through.
Nice.
Yeah. But he's a total creep. He's got the worst haircut in the world.
Yeah. Ugh. Man, I hate that. It's like the military brat mohawk.
Yeah, it's like the Nazi cut wasn't aggressive enough for him, so he had to tighten it in a little more.
I wonder. I'm watching your footage right now, just because who did Corneo choose?
I believe it was Tifa.
Chose Tifa. Okay.
This is what it looks like, and then. Yeah, he does this thing where he's like, all right, boys, and you get the rest.
You get the scraps.
Yeah,
that's
and then
gross.
He sends you off to a room to just be assaulted by a gaggle of men.
Yep.
Another thing that they clean up in the remake. It's like this. It's like a fan favorite moment in the remake. I'm pretty sure he always picks Cloud.
Okay.
And then Tifa and Aerith go like all out badass and like beat the living crap out of all these guys.
Hell yeah.
It starts with Aerith like WrestleMania, like bashing one over the head with a chair.
Hell yes.
Like out of nowhere.
Oh my God.
So they turn it into like this like empowering moment instead of this weird, creepy, like zombie sex assault thing.
They do walk at you like zombies. You saw in this footage, they're just like arms outstretched. It's quite weird.
Mm-hmm. Like the guys are all still creeps, but like the girls are badass and beat the hell out.
That rocks.
Yeah.
Girl power, man.
And the song that they play rules so hard. Oh my God. I might have to play it for you when we're done.
Hell yeah. So let's see. Yeah, so Corneo, he's like, you can have the rest. And in my playthrough, so Cloud is in Corneo's bedroom, and he's like, don't be shy, get over here, baby girl. And you get to decide whether or not you're gonna like play along for a little bit, because you can play hard to get, or he's like, come here, give me a smooch, and like you can lead him along until the very last minute, until the girls come in to save Cloud. Mm-hmm. And they're like, wait, Cloud, were you going to go through with it? They're like, wait, were you about to suck his dick?
Hell
like,
yeah, dude.
What's going on, Cloud?
I told you, Cloud's growing up.
He's found himself. Yeah.
He's like,
they found themselves.
This maybe isn't the best man for me, but it's a step in,
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Some of the dialogue options. You can choose to have Cloud call Corneo daddy. Nice. Which is I definitely played along with this because I like it. But then Aerith and Tifa, they break in, and all three of them, they threaten to mutilate Corneo's genitals in different ways.
Yeah, wild stuff.
Yeah, Cloud says he'll chop it off. Tifa says she'll rip it off, and Aerith said she'll smash them, I think.
Yeah, which as a 12-year-old, I was like, are they saying what I think they're saying?
That's right.
And now
T for teen, baby.
Yeah. Now I'm like, hell yeah! Get his ass!
Smash, rip, and cut the patriarchy.
Beat the shit out of this predator. Go for it.
Oh, man, I wish they had. And then he has got like a gun dick later. You thought you saw the last of Don Corneo.
I'm not the only man with a gun grafted on his dick. There was another.
Oh my God.
I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, that's funny. That just thinking of like two dicks like docking together. Anyway, so they've threatened Corneo's manhood, and they get him to spill the beans on Heidegger of Shinra hired Corneo to learn where Barret lived, to retaliate, for all of Avalanche's transgressions, and that their plan is to crush Sector 7 by destroying the plate support. If you remember from the first episode, that's the damn pizza Barret keeps complaining about.
Pizza up there.
Because if you want to like really feel bad about for the people of Sector 7 and all of the slums, they don't get any natural daylight in the slums because all of it is blocked out by these plate supports. Kind of a bummer. And Corneo springs a trap door under it's a little like all three of them are standing perfectly on the trapdoor area. Corneo, he asks them a cute little question of like, why do you think I'm telling you all these secrets? And, it doesn't matter what you choose. He'll just be like, haha, trapdoor. You fall, and it cuts away to Shinra HQ as we learn it.
Which I had forgotten about. And when we cut away to this, I was like, oh yeah. And you put that music in, and I was like, dang.
Oh, I want to talk about the Shinra music and just kind of some of the musical motifs that we hear throughout the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack. It seems like every major theme is taking the basic melody of Aerith's theme. Da, 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 da. That's prevalent through most of the songs in some way. Think about I'm not going to try to
I'm thinking
fake it out right now, but like you can find it in all of the songs, and they all seem to be kind of like the base of it is Aerith, whereas all the other ones are like kind of manipulated it in some ways, and it's very thematically telling of the plight of the planet, where if we're going to equate her with the planet, which we'll learn more of later why we would do that. But so we learned that the upper brass of Shinra, we've got Heidegger, we got President Shinra. He apparently cleaned his dick off and got back to work. Then Reeve, who he's a conscientious objector of the collapsing of Sector 7's plate. So President Shinra is just kind of like, well, take the week off, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're going to do it. Like, objection noted, but not needed. It's just, I mean, this is really painting President Shinra as like an evil man. And
like this guy do not care.
I mean, literally the Sector 7 disaster is an inside job.
Been there, done that.
There's a lot. I don't think this game would have been released post 9/11 the way it was. I feel like censorship would have really hit this game hard.
That's a good question. Because I believe Metal Gear Solid came out
98.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yes. They had to cut some footage because you see the Twin Towers at the beginning when Snake's on the Hudson Bay. Hudson Bay.
Hudson Bay.
Metal Gear.
It came out pretty close to 9/11.
You're correct.
There's some stuff in there that's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're really being edgy for what I remember that being like as somebody in my mid-teen years. This one, it's so blunt. They might have let it go, but I mean, it really is. It's just like this is just nail on the head of kind of the way the world works. Of like,
right, major government organization creates a catastrophe so that they can blame the radical group that is the biggest thorn in their side, therefore justify their existence while also justify expanding their influence over the populace.
There may or may not be one going on in the world right
now. Everything's chill.
It's, we're not going to comment one way or the other.
Free Palestine, baby.
Fuck it, I'll comment. But I mean, there's stuff coming out about the terror attacks that happened just a few months ago as we're recording this, that like Israel like had all this intelligence
of
that
course.
Like this was planned. They knew about it and they were like
in Minecraft.
In Minecraft, they were just like, we're just going to take our holiday and lower our defenses anyway. Anyway, please don't cancel us. Please don't demonetize us or whatever, TOS us. I love Benjamin Netanyahu forever. I pledge all fealty to him. Onward with Final Fantasy VII.
I've got a Benjamin Netanyahu body pillow. Free Palestine. So we learned that the mayor of Midgar is a complete puppet. He's got no influence at all because the Shinra brass, they're the true rule. They're the overlords. Like President Shinra is an overlord. He's a dictator. He's et cetera, et cetera. He's not just the CEO of the power company. He is in charge of everything.
Which again is just like so on the head real world analogy if you're somebody who thinks of like our government, it's just corporations buying whatever they want.
That is correct.
This is just an acceleration of that. And it makes me wonder, like when they write these stories, how much like Hideo Kojima, it's like he sits down and is like, I'm gonna satirize like America, basically. Like he is very pointedly doing that. I wonder how much with like games like this they do that versus like it's just a coincidence of just stories kind of have similar arcs and whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean Japan, because this is made all by Japanese people. Japan is an incredibly corporate driven culture where, I mean, you just look at a photo of the sky, a bird's eye view of Tokyo, and it is just like, I mean, everything is jam-packed in there. People are like, your life is your company. It's a huge part of the identity. And there's a lot of corporate greed. There's a lot of corporate espionage. There's a lot of just like bad shit happening to justify an end of year profit. Like it's the idea of like putting humans before profits is even to like some of the more ethical like corporate leaders like kind of a touching gesture that is not going to actually be put into play.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder about it in terms of like as a critique of American empire, how intentional is it? Because they have a perspective of we did the imperialism thing and we got unfairly and very like inhumanely smacked down for it. With the dropping of the atomic bombs, and ever since they've been a little more isolationist in the world outside of just participating in like the global economy. and like almost like they're like pointing and laughing at us, you know, of like, you idiots. Like, what do you think the end of all this is if you keep going down this route of being like the world empire, the world police?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's not going to end well.
Yeah, which again, it's like Hideo Kojima very purposefully is like, especially like if you play the last game he did, Death Stranding, it's like this like very ham-fisted like, we're rebuilding America.
We're going to make connections so you don't forget the importance of friendship and community.
Yeah, but like the satirized part is like sort of making fun of like, we have to connect America.
We'll talk about Death Stranding once the movie comes out.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Because I'm very excited to have an excuse.
Yeah, I just want to throw that out there. We can move on.
I took a direct quote that President Shinra said. It's, we'll destroy Sector 7 and report that Avalanche did it. Then we'll send in the rescue ops, care of Shinra.
Yeah, right. That's the part of like, nobody gets in a room and says that out loud.
They
like
don't
that.
say, yeah, they're saying the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, it's just, that happens all day, every day, as more sins of omission of like, ooh, what if we just pretend we didn't know this bad thing could happen? Or what if we justify that all these poor people are going to suffer by saying, but look, line go up for everyone else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no. Iraq definitely had weapons of mass destruction. Yeah. We had no problem justifying our presence there.
Bush did 9/11.
Yeah.
In Minecraft.
Sure did. So we get to really see the villainous like boardroom meeting that Shinra seems to have like constantly. Like it's like, I don't know if he's ever had like a meeting that doesn't have like sinister music playing over it.
Gentlemen to evil.
Yes. So we cut back to Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa. They're in the sewer, and this is where it's a very subtle decision that the game offers you. It's like, who do you check on first? Do you check on Tifa or you check on Aerith?
You know who I check.
I know who you check. I'm in love with this monster that you fight. His name is Apps, and he looks like Satan. Like he's got the devil horns. He's got the goat legs with like the spike tail. It looks awesome.
Yeah, he rocks.
And I've actually seen footage of the remake of this guy, and he looks great.
Yeah.
But this monster, his like special attack is called Sewer Tsunami, and it's a self-harming attack because the water comes in a big wave from behind the monster, and when it hits him and it does damage to him. And it's just like this game. At the end of the day, Final Fantasy VII combat can be as simple as just pressing OK over and over again so that you can just have your enemies get attacked and like no big deal.
Yeah.
But
you know, don't you hate when you get recommended those videos on YouTube? Like, can I beat Final Fantasy VII with just attack? It's like, yes, all it takes is patience.
I do like those types of challenges sometimes. The ones that I see are, they tend to be Resident Evil specific. Just because
if it's a game that actually like requires skill in the challenge, but like any turn-based role-playing game, it's like all it takes is patience.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me just grind enough so that my attack will do enough damage to do this. Yeah, for sure. But so it's a pretty simple, straightforward boss fight. I at this point, I'm not trying to brag, but I have not died at all. I haven't had any problems. I haven't even used a Phoenix down. But again, I also tend to grind and to really like get my levels up because at this point my levels were like around like level 12, 13. But that's because I engaged in a lot of extra combat that the game wasn't just naturally putting in front of me. But upon beating this boss, you get the first piece of materia that really changes how I play Final Fantasy VII. Steel materia.
Yeah.
Steel materia, enemy skill. These are
those are the fun ones.
These are the materia. It's yellow materia, which it allows you know. I mean, steel materia is pretty self-explanatory, but there you can get some wonderful equipment pretty early in the game if you know who to rob. And I
tell me who I missed because I keep running steel when I'm like, this guy's got to have some good. It's like, has nothing. God dang it.
Once we get to Shinra HQ, I'll have more to say about who to rob.
I missed it all.
But so, you know, you get out of the sewers, and the game takes you to the train graveyard. And in this little segment of the game, you're controlling some train cars so that they'll intersect and create a walkway for you to get back to Sector 7. It's fun in the sense that the enemies that you'll fight, I experienced my first ghost enemies, which are impervious to physical attacks. So you need to have some magic. That's the only really way that they distinguish themselves. I need to take a drink of water. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think this section it's pretty well done in that there's like just enough tension and just enough aggravation of like, I gotta get back and save these people before the plate falls.
Yeah.
And I feel like I got through it right as it's kind of like it's about to overstay its welcome. And it really is just like a dungeon of like kind of filler space between to add some tension to the moment, instead of just like, oh, we beat the bad guy, now we're right to where we need to be.
Yeah. You need to rush through to get to the action.
Yeah. And like one thing I will praise this game for over and over and over again, I think, is pacing. I think is very, very well done. I can't think of very many places in the game where I get that feeling of like, oh my gosh, this is really dragging on and on and on and on. Maybe I mentioned it in the last episode, but at the time of recording this, I just played the Star Ocean Second Story remake.
Oh,
which
cool.
is a game that came out around this time-ish, within a couple of years ago of it, but the remake just came out, or the remaster. And oh boy, howdy, does that game just have just pointless hallways. Like, I can't think of very many pointless hallways in Final Fantasy VII. The remake, yes, but it's like it's pretty well done throughout. That's what I'd say about the train graveyard.
It was during the train graveyard, the enemies I was fighting through that Cloud gained his second limit break cross slash.
Nice.
Which is a pretty cool. It's the way it differentiates itself from Braver, which is his first limit break, is that cross slash has the chance to paralyze the enemy that you've attacked.
I don't know if that's ever happened for me.
It seems pretty rare. It has happened for me, but not like consistently. And also, it's a powerful enough attack that if I'm using it on a basic enemy, it's gonna kill him. But I think we already mentioned like how leveling limit breaks works, where you can use it a set amount of times and it'll level up, or you defeat a certain amount of enemies with that character, and then they'll get their next limit break.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's
or you find an item for their ultimate limit break.
Basically, the second level of each level is you have to use the first level a certain number of times.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the next level is a number of enemies killed.
That's right.
So like I've actually gotten to the next level before I've gotten the second one, like sort of the sub.
Oh, I didn't know you could do it like that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That is cool though.
Like,
okay. I follow that.
If you just grind like in a space where a random encounter is like 5 or 6 enemies,
and you just use magic all on them.
Yeah. That's a really easy way to get your limit breaks up.
Take notes, campers. So now we're getting to the pillar. It's Sector 7. And the shit has hit the fan. There is just like combat above. And as Cloud is like, approaching it,
Buck wild, dude.
Wedge falls from the sky, and he does not have a church or flowers to break his fall. He falls to his death.
Holy moly! All your pals die like dogs.
It's real, man.
Insane.
And I can only imagine how the remake handles this, but I'd actually like to save that for my own
this
experience.
is one I won't spoil if for anybody who hasn't played,
but
because there is some developments that happen, and this is where things start getting interesting.
But it's amazing that Wedge can muster a sentence after falling that far. But he tells
well, I mean, look at Cloud. He fell 3 times as far, and he's fine. But Wedge, dead as a dog.
Yeah, he just his like dying words are to like asking you to help Barret, like help our dude. As you climb this isn't the first. Is this the first just like very, very high space that we've like intentionally gone up that has like cause and effect? I think it is. The game's going to give us a couple of these as we go through. Actually, this like episode, we're going to cover a lot of it. But I mean, as you go up, you find Biggs also dying, and Jessie, like poor Jessie, man, like she really endeared herself to me just by like being, from out of Avalanche, she was like the most tech savvy. She was like the reason that they were able to gain access to the reactors, and she has the hots for you. So she made me feel good. And her dying words is like reflecting that, like, well, this is our punishment. Like a lot of people died because of us.
That's
and she's
brutal.
Like really coming to terms with what you've done, but still dying like confident in your cause.
Yeah, which is interesting to think that that's a jumping off point for like the entire new chapter in the remake that I think I mentioned, that between the Mako reactor missions, you go to her like suburb that her parents live in above the plate.
That's right, yeah.
Because she wants to find out why her bomb like basically killed more people than she thought. She thought she built it to minimize casualties. And she's like, what's happening? I need to go figure this out. And that's why you go. And it's like almost you can imagine like that line being the impetus for like, oh, we could build a whole new chapter.
Absolutely.
She has this like, not regret, guilt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she's got a conscience, man. Yeah. Like unlike Shinra, right? Like that's really just painting the difference between this rebel faction and this evil empire, which like this evil empire is like callously making the decision. Oh yeah, we'll just kill everybody, blame it on Avalanche, yada yada.
Yeah.
Like no responsibility, no guilty conscience. Whereas these people who are in the moral right are like still grappling with the effects of their actions. It's a really simple but effective way of showing like who's the human here, who's got the soul, who's got any semblance of like empathy.
Yeah, I just watched actually the other night. Do you know the writer director Boots Riley? His breakout film was Sorry to Bother You.
Okay, I'm not familiar.
He makes like unapologetically like communist shows and movies.
Right on.
And his newest one's called I'm a Virgo. And long story short, one of the scenarios that plays out is there's like a power company in Oakland that shuts down the power for poor people. Like whenever they're like, hey, you guys are hogging too much power, we're just shutting you off.
Yeah, instead of allowing the whole system to brown out, and then like the uppers would lose their Wi-Fi for half an hour.
And so like our quote unquote our heroes, they go and they're like, we're gonna blow up the regulator. And they basically just do like the Final Fantasy VII like reactor mission.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much the same thing. Like they go, they blow it up, and then like as soon as they're done, like they go, wait, they just brought in a new regulator like 5 minutes later, and like oh, we did all this for nothing. So it's like tale as old as time, a story that still pays off. But yeah, it was a great show. I blasted through the whole thing in one night. Anyway, back to this pillar, which Sean's choking on water. So I can discuss what happens when we get to the top of the pillar, and we find after all of our friends have been thrown into the dirt, we meet Barret at the top, who's just been blasting away at the Shinra, and Reno of the Turks comes in on a helicopter and just kind of meanders his way into a control panel. And everybody's like, what's he doing over there? Hey, whoa.
Don't press that button.
Nobody's just like, hey, let's just murder this guy
Right.
before he murders 50,000 people. Like, we could solve the trolley problem right now. And the guy that has to die is bad.
Do we ever see Barrett's gun accomplish anything outside of like combat?
He seemingly can just shoot it anywhere without consequence.
I wonder what caliber his handgun is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Handgun. He's got a handgun.
But yeah, so Reno activates like the bomb that's going to take down the pillar, and then we get into a fight with him immediately.
Yes.
And the premise of this fight is he can cast this pyramid on randomly on any teammate, and then you have to think to attack your teammate before they are viable to use again.
It's a fun little mechanic. And the way I like, because I always like to like maximize my damage output in every roll. Like I like the numbers.
We love the numbers going up, folks,
So,
don't we?
I always save Cloud as my main attacker. If Barret or Tifa gets put in a pyramid, I never use Cloud to open that pyramid up. I always give the other one because they just do a little bit less damage than my boy. And so, I mean, it doesn't matter in the long run. I meant to look up the actual, my guidebook actually has a typo here in saying that Reno has 25,000 HP in this fight, which is completely inaccurate.
Imagine like somebody who is like steadfastly reading ahead in the guide.
Oh, they're like, oh my God.
Fuck this. I'm just putting this game down.
Yeah.
I can't beat that.
I would guess he has more like 1,200
Or
HP.
2,500?
That even still seems like too much. I'm not going to look it up, but he does not have 25,000 HP.
Right.
But pretty simple fight. I think I say that about every boss at this point, just because like, and I don't mean to be reductive, but it's just like this game's pretty easy if you just pay attention to the mechanics.
Yeah, and I mean it's been really. I know I keep referencing remake, and that'll stop probably by the end of this episode because we'll run out of runway. But like, it's fun to like compare what the mechanics of the fights were, and in the remake, they're all, especially if you play on hard mode, they are all like a challenge. They sort of lean the like FromSoft direction just enough that it's accessible to somebody like me who's not a master of like the Dark Souls-like games. But it's way harder than this, where you go, oh, the gimmick is to break the pyramid, okay, and then beat the crap out. Yeah, like
it just requires paying attention, like just being present in what you're doing and not just mindlessly playing through. Like this game rewards. It rewards an attention to detail. It rewards like picking up on patterns or inferring, if they do this, I should do this as a counter. Before
we move on from this fight, was I supposed to steal from him? Did I miss out on something?
No, he does not have any stealable items.
Okay, I think maybe I did try to steal and I was like, what? This guy doesn't have anything?
Yeah. A lot of bosses don't have stealable items.
Yeah, that's what I was finding out.
So, okay. We have Reno. Once you defeat him, he just jumps right off and like he fucks right off.
So, oops, time to go.
Yep. And then Sang, another Turk, shows up on a helicopter, and it turns out they have Aerith hostage. And when we last left Aerith, she was sticking back. Well, wait. What?
She's told to go save Marlene.
That's right. Right. And she tells Barret, she's like, don't worry, she's safe.
Yeah.
So we have to take her word for it at this point. We don't know anything. All we know is that she's been captured, and she's giving her word that she, quote unquote, she is safe.
Yeah. Which a decision they made in the remake is to show that like you control Aerith going to save Marlene, and it's the most adorable scene ever when the two of them meet. Like I'm just like tears streaming.
Now when you played in this playthrough, I assume you bought a flower from Aerith at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Who'd you give the flower to?
I don't remember.
I gave mine to Marlene because that was the option that I thought was like the most wholesome.
Yeah.
And I always thought it'd be cute if like Marlene like is like that she can make the connection where she's like, wait, like maybe Aerith has like a flower in her hair or something, and she's like, oh my god, we're sisters, we're bestie twinsies.
Yeah. There's it's like I'm trying to. I should just replayed the remake to really be a master of all this. It's like Marlene has this instant connection to Aerith, like understanding her is like, you are something even greater than human.
It's like what Mr. Rogers would call one of the helpers, right? Always look for the helpers. In times of trouble, look for the helpers. Yeah. That is Aerith. I mean, Aerith is like, she's like Mr. Rogers meets, I don't have
Jesus. Like, I'm just going to keep saying it. Aerith, like, that is Aerith's role in the game, is to be a bubbly, cute Jesus or Christ figure.
Yeah. Like, Christ foo.
Aerith is my Christ foo.
So now let's revisit the absolute horror of Chicken Little. The sky is falling on Sector 7. The bomb detonates and we see like massive chunks just start to fly from above. And one of the most adorable, charming things happens where Barret jumps up on the guardrail, grabs like a construction, like a crane top
of some kind,
and then for some reason, everyone just jumps on Barret. Like it works for me. Cloud's like on his.
Yeah.
Cloud is literally sitting. He's riding Barret's bicep. It's so sweet. I mean, Barret is a tough guy, especially with one. He's only got one hand to hold on to all this too. Like, I always think about like, okay, we are going to get to this series eventually in Camp Video Games, but I always think about Mega Man.
Yeah.
Like having just one good hand to use, right? Because his Buster Cannon is like not a hand. But then in the cartoon, they changed it so that he did have two hands. And then when he was ready to fight, his hand would turn into the Buster Cannon. So just as like in terms of practical things, like, you know, Mega Man can ride a bike properly and like all this stuff. But Barret is kind of screwed. Like he's just got a machine gun on his hand. And yeah, I don't know. It sucks to lose a limb, I guess.
Yeah, back to this scene where they're riding the crane, though. Amazing juxtaposition happens as we cut to President Shinra casually, callously watching while listening to opera in his 70th floor like CEO digs above the plate, and just it's really, really incredible. It's again like Parasite won Best Picture for basically doing this metaphor as a movie. 25 years after this game came out.
Canonically, do you think President Shinra's listening to Loveless?
I don't think they thought that hard about it.
Yeah,
but, it was the first, because again, I'm playing the game mostly with my fancy headphones on where I can really hear everything. And it's the first time I ever noticed he's like listening to vocal opera music. I think they just like, and I was like, wow, like people were probably hired to go perform this piece that plays for like 5 seconds to make this point that like almost no player is going to notice, you know?
I mean, it's just testament to how much work it really is needed to get to this level of, accomplishment. I mean, I always think of like, you know, how funny it is now if you watch like a modern, Marvel movie or something, and the credit sequence will last as long as like the fucking movie at this point. And, just like, and they fill the screen with names. It's not just like one name at a time. It is just like so many names for like, for like environmental CGI, etc., whatever it is. But
or like a modern AAA game. Now they let you speed it up. It's just like names whirring by. Like
it takes a village.
Yeah. But like this differentiating from Marvel, it's like that's a level of attention to detail of like that thematic juxtaposition that like they don't they don't think about that kind of stuff. They're like, oh, we put in an Easter egg to remind you that this character exists under the same intellectual property.
For sure. Yeah. We've acquired new rights.
Yeah.
I gave up on those after the second Avengers movie. I was like, I've had enough. I loved the first Avengers movie. I don't know if I've said this on the show, but I loved the first Avengers movie. And then I watched the second one after watching all the side ones that led up to it. And I was just like, I am exhausted.
Yeah, I was out when Sam Raimi was no longer directing Spider-Man.
Oh, man, Sam Raimi rocks.
Yeah.
I met his brother.
Oh, yeah?
Is it Ted Raimi? Yeah, he looks like him. That's all I can say. So we get back to we get to the area where Cloud and Aerith saw Tifa being carted away by a chocobo, where Cloud and Aerith were having their little romantic date on top of the concrete Moogle slide playhouse thing. And now the entrance to Sector 7 is just like filled with like still like burning, just, I don't know, industrial wreckage. It's just like, I mean, it's a nightmare. I mean, I can't comprehend what horror Sector 7 went through in the last second. Like, everybody died, hopefully, right? Like,
right.
Because, like, if not, they're just going to, like, slowly die under wreckage. It's a nightmare. And we've gotten a lot of, like, this kind of, like, human suffering is in the news right now. And it's really hard. And 25 years ago, this was this is the worst I could comprehend. It's just like Sector 7 just was flattened out.
Yeah.
And
in modern day parlance, it's like, for better or worse, I'm President Shinra on the 70th floor, you know? Like, and it's just like,
being complicit in the evil empire's doings.
Yeah. I'm just living in the heart of the evil empire, comfortably recording my podcast.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what the and that's why, I don't know, we play these games in some way to reckon with those feelings and work them out.
It's why these games still reverberate emotionally for us. It is, I mean, because it makes us question these types of our feeling of security comes at the expense of so much human suffering.
Yeah.
That we are not directly responsible for, but that we benefit from.
Yeah. And we talked about this, I think, in probably the first episode, about how, like, Midgar is a just blunt visual, physical representation of how that works.
Yeah.
As just a very obvious metaphor that is very effective for a preteen or teen in the 90s.
It really is. I think a lot of radical, quote unquote, like political identity could be derived from this.
I feel like if you say that Final Fantasy VII resonates with you, or resonated with you as a kid, and you're now like a conservative Christian nationalist, like, I don't know how you that it did not.
You know, growing up, I just thought big swords are so important. You know, speak softly and always carry a big sword. At this wreckage, Barret is just like he is having a meltdown. I mean, he's not convinced yet that Marlene is alive, and he asks, you know, what's it all for? Like, what, like, they did this because of us, but like, they're also like, we didn't do this. It's the damn Shinra.
Yeah.
It's the damn Shinra. That's a direct quote. Well, they start their way back to Aerith's house, which is in Sector 6 or 5.
Sector 5, yeah.
And
Sector 6 is this like unfinished space between.
Oh, that's where the big robot hand is and the hell houses.
Yeah.
Sector 6 is weird. It's like, so like, it's like a, what's the word? Like a liminal space. It's like, it's there, but it has no purpose other than to be like a transitory area.
Yeah. And I think we'll get to the, in the Shinra headquarters, like, somebody says something about Sector 6, and the president, I believe, is like, we don't care about Sector 6.
Right.
We're moving on to New Midgar, Neo Midgar, or whatever.
Neo Midgar, the Promised Land.
The Promised Land is what they call it at that point. So, but that's a little ahead.
Yeah.
We got to go back to Aerith's house first.
Yeah, that's where Elmira, she's taking care of Marlene. and she discloses that the reason that Shinra wants Aerith is because she's the sole surviving ancient. And we get a little backstory onto how Elmira and Aerith met. Elmira, her husband was shipped off with the military to the Wutai Wars. We'll get a lot of more information on Wutai later, but basically, so Elmira would go to the train station every day to wait for her husband to come back. Very tragic image of just.
I was pretty impacted by this. This time,
of like a freshly widowed woman who doesn't know it yet, waiting and waiting and waiting. It's the way it's a trope old as time. Just the lady in waiting who's never going to find her true love again.
I really loved the way they used Aerith's theme. But the opening of this backstory is all about her adoptive mother. So it like sort of generationally attaches this like theme over time in some way. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm older and this is why we replay things and revisit things. This had a very different impact on me than I recall ever having.
I understand what you mean. Playing this today with my life experience and with the reflection that I've been able to like allow myself on who I am and like what matters to me, and not just worrying about making the numbers go up.
Yeah.
Because literally, I mean, as a kid, like I was like obsessed with just becoming as powerful as possible. It was a power fantasy.
And well, I was an emotional boy, so I was pretty invested in the story, but mostly Cloud's story as an avatar for a more powerful me. The rest of it didn't resonate quite as much.
But so one day while waiting for her husband to show up, Elmira comes across Aerith's mother at the train station, and she dies in front of her. So Elmira adopts Aerith. And it becomes pretty apparent from Elmira's perspective of like now raising this girl as her own, that this she's got the shining. She's got the ability to talk to the planet, and she's got a little psychic tinge to her. But basically, Aerith comes up to Elmira one day. She's like, "All right, don't be sad, but like someone very close to you just died." Like that's like she might as well be like, like Red Rob. But I would say that like thematically, Aerith cures Elmira's grief in the sense that like, well, I lost my husband, but I gained a daughter, and I'm not alone anymore. And that's like the first time Aerith is like, her role as a healer, as a fixer, as a helper is like cemented, and it comes to her naturally. She doesn't even have to try. She can just do it. That natural ability is inherent. We learn about the Turks. They try to recruit Aerith because I think it's Sang who says, quote, "Ancients lead to the land of supreme happiness." It's like, it sounds good on paper, but when you realize what's at stake and like what that actually means for the bigger picture, the grander scheme, the last thing you want is Midgar to rebuild itself on the last like oil well, basically.
And he's like a military recruiter in a high school trying to sell you what a good time it's going to be.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, you'll have such a good time being imprisoned by the Shinra and experimented on.
Oh, yeah. I'm forced bred. And there's a lot. We go back to, we get this nice little flashback of Elmira just being like, this is who Aerith is. Here's where she comes from. I don't know the whole story, but I know that she's special. And Barret addresses his plight, where it's like, all Barret wants is to be a good dad to his daughter. Like that is why he fights. Mm-hmm. But if he stopped fighting to do that, there's no future for Marlene. So he has to sacrifice his happiness with his daughter so that she has the chance to have a future. It's very noble, and it's like selfless, and I mean, Barret is a beautiful character that is unfairly represented as a caricature. It's hard to get past just it's like, well, we got Mr. T, we got Goku, we got like, we got Misato, we got all these tropey characters, but then like there are layers to them that are sometimes like it's hard because you only see him as a tough guy. He only really acts as a tough guy unless Marlene is involved. That's where you get to see the nurturer, the caring person, the reason he's so adamant to keep the avalanche going.
Mm-hmm. That is all quite well said. And this might be a good moment to bring up that I might reference throughout a little bit. Since our last recording, I stumbled upon my favorite critic, Tim Rogers, has done a series called Let's Mosey, a slow translation of Final Fantasy VII. It's excellent. He goes through the entire first disc and points out a lot of translation differences.
Yeah, because he's Japanese fluent.
Yeah, he played both versions side by side.
That rocks.
And
that's so
finds
genius.
a lot of the most poignant areas where things kind of got a little out of whack. And I'm pretty sure the characterization of Barret is one of those.
Yeah.
That he's not quite as hard as like all these stupid ampersand exclamation point cusses, like some of the language is not quite as strong. So I'll try to remember those, but like, don't quote me. Go watch that as well if you're really into this.
I'm absolutely going to.
It's 5 or 6 hours.
Of course. Thanks, Tim.
And it's excellent. And it reinforced my case for like Aerith as both this very human, bubbly, she's a little waifu-y, but like in a human way, and also as the Christ figure.
Yeah.
I'm like, I knew it.
Well, now, okay, because Barret at this point has not met Aerith, but he's the one that's like, if she saved my daughter, we got a new mission: save Aerith. And in order to do that, I mean, we know that she's been taken to Shinra headquarters, so the gang needs to get some batteries in order to. The way that they know that they need them is a little like, well, okay, but a gun shop owner in sector or Wall Market is he's like, oh, by the way, I got these batteries. They're essential for they're key items for this game. You need them.
for the climb up that was to the surface that was created by this wreckage that happened all of 20 hours ago.
Yeah.
It's like, all the neighborhood kids have already assessed the route, and it's one of the few clunky moments of pacing.
It'll happen.
That it's fine.
It works fine.
Yeah.
It does. It only if you're going to spend a couple dozen hours talking about it in a podcast is it really going to present itself as an issue. But when you approach this wire that the gang has to climb up, Barret refers to it as a golden shiny wire of hope.
Yeah.
Very sweet. He's a poet at heart. And
it's like that's the real Barret. Is this a bit of a cheese ball?
He's a warrior poet.
Yeah.
Then there's this large ascension where we are going from the slums up to the hoity-toity surface of the city. I was thinking about like the glass ceiling in terms of like, there's a clear barrier between those below and those above. Glass ceiling is that's linked more with like the woman in the workplace, but it's the social ladder. It's the top of the totem pole. It is all this, the hierarchy of societal, roles. But at the end of the day, it's just that damn pizza that they gotta get on top. This is luckily it's not Chicago deep dish. That's just garbage.
Yeah.
It's not pizza. That is casserole.
Otherwise, they'd be just congealed in cheese at the bottom.
That's right. Do you want to hear? You want to hear a pizza joke?
Yeah, hit me.
Never mind. It's too cheesy.
God dang it.
So we have this wonderful like bird's point of view of Sector 7's ruins as you're climbing up, and you just get to see. You're like, oh, cool! Like an entire neighborhood, an entire area code was just wiped out. Like bummer.
Yeah.
And then we get to play the jump on the swinging bar game.
Dude, the absolute worst part of this game.
It is so dumb. According to the guide, though, all you really need is the guide had a fun little piece of info for it. The swinging bar can be tricky. Press the key just before the bar reaches the left side. It's like frame perfect. You got to do it right on there, and if not, you're gonna miss. You're gonna have to reclimb up and do it again and again and again. I hate it.
Yeah,
I spit on it.
I noted this time. I think I finally figured out. It's like there's a part in its arc where it's swinging across, and it changes its acceleration or deceleration rate just a little bit, and it's like right after that is when you do it. But like this is where those static backgrounds really kind of screw the pooch there.
Yeah.
There's like no depth perception to like where this thing's at. All you get is when you mess up, Cloud goes too soon, too late. It's just like, oh my God.
It's I put it on par with the all three of us need to press the button at the same time, and we're not going to count it off or do anything about it. We're just going to hope you get on the rhythm. Whatever. Luckily, we did it. It's great. It's
we make
fine.
it to the top.
We made it. And we used the batteries to manipulate the setting as you go through. You put one in, and like a guardrail will like shoot up, so now you can walk up it. Yeah,
the rest of the battery use stuff, it's pretty chill. It's fun.
It's all pretty easily intuited. Like, you know, it's not really a puzzle as much as it's just like, oh, you got to do that. It's like the difference between like. It's kind of like playing Chutes and Ladders, where it's just like you just got to go up it, and if you can't, then you can if you do the thing. It's really not too difficult. But then we approach Shinra headquarters, and we get this great iconic shot of
front of the box right here.
Yeah, and you know the tower. It looks like a penis.
They all do.
Everything looks like a penis.
Yeah.
But you know, everybody's looking up at what they are going to have to conquer. I mean, it's like
everybody's doing hero pose.
Yeah, everyone's looking at the dragon they're about to have to slay. It's like you're going to have to climb into the belly of the beast.
And I mean, if you're completely blind and you've never played a game like this, you might think like, oh, this is Endgame.
Yeah. What are the other two discs for? I have no idea.
Yeah, which would be a really fun way to experience this game. But again, you just reminded me that there's multiple discs.
Oh, right, because you played PC.
Well, that was also 3 discs.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty. It's a great stage set piece type moment
for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful. I mean,
like a kind of an all timer. You know,
yeah, it's iconic, and it will forever be etched in the brains of gamers.
Yep.
And then you're faced with an option. Do you storm in the front, guns blazing, or you take the sneaky route? I took the sneaky route, where
so did I.
You're gonna take the stairs. I'm gonna read this straight from the official strategy guide by David Cassidy. Prepare for the walk of your life. There are no enemies on the stairs. However, there are 9 sets of stairs to climb. It's worth exploring each set of stairs at least once just to see the team's comments. Oh, the things that don't age well in Final Fantasy VII are about to be discussed.
Oh yeah.
So I would say, in terms of the like dynamic that they're kind of establishing as Cloud, Tifa, and Barret are climbing the stairs. Barret, he reminds me of Gimli from The Lord of the Rings, where he's strong, he's tough, he's proud, but he's also like not so great on the cardio. He's kind of, you know, as he's ascending, he's the main complainer. Tifa and Cloud, they're great. They're in the best shape of their lives. They're there's no body fat on these two.
Yeah, there's no lack of hustle in them.
Yeah.
They just go.
But what's the context for why Tifa calls Barret a hard R word?
It's weird. Not the hard R word we're thinking of.
Well, not that one.
Ew! But still a bad one.
Oh my God. No.
Yeah.
She calls him a retard. Or she says that he's acting like a retard. And I'm done saying that word. And apologies for saying it, but it's in the game. It's not a part of my daily vocabulary.
This is one where again, I think it's worth referring to the Let's Mosey series. I'm pretty sure he covers this. I was blown away that I'm playing the Switch port that it came out obviously after the Switch.
Yeah.
And they
probably in 17, I would guess, like as like a 20th anniversary.
Yeah, I have no idea like what I honestly, when I saw this, I looked up like the translation history.
Yeah.
Or I tried to. I was like, there's no way. There's just no way, because they fixed This Guy Are Sick and they didn't fix this. So like
there it is.
I think that I think it just hasn't been translated since like maybe the PlayStation to PC version.
Yeah.
I don't think the English has been touched.
Yeah, I would
somebody
be very
correct
interested.
me if I'm wrong, because that would make sense why they go, oh no, a grammatical error, but the R word, it's fine.
Different times.
Yeah, the difference between 97 and 98 versus if they had retranslated it for 97 to 2016, 17, whatever. This probably started as a PC port in like the early 2010s or something. It blows me away that was not taken out yet.
Especially
obviously
with Nintendo,
not in the remake.
Especially with the Nintendo intervention, because like they're very conservative in what they allow on their products.
It's wild, dude. So that's still in there as of this release from a few years ago. Jesus.
The only item that you find in the stairwell ascension is an elixir. Very useful item. We haven't really talked about elixirs before, but an elixir fully restores your health and your MP. Pretty baller.
Yeah. But does the guide say what happens if you take the elevator? Because I think I remember, but if you have a more accurate explanation.
Again, reading from the official guide. I'm going in the front. If you want to fight, you gotta fight. Using the front entrance causes everyone to go running. Everyone except a small group of grenade combatants. Unlike the rather uneventful stairs path, you'll have to deal with random encounters as you explore this area. There's the item shop on the second tier where you can pick up some supplies. Oh, and you get to watch the video of the Shinra motors. You get to see like a little teaser of the motorcycle. And then there's 2 chests in the back of the store that can't be opened yet. And then when you're ready, you can hop in the elevator and head for the 59th floor. The 59th floor is that's where that's where you emerge from the stairwell entrance, and you're gonna fight a group of Shinra guards, and then they'll drop the 60th floor key card so that you can start getting, because the way that the Shinra headquarters works is anything below the 60th floor is for like standard employees, where anything above is like executive, the higher ups. I mean, it's literally like Midgar, where there's like the lower tier is like most of it, but then the upper tier is just for the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's a matter of getting to the top of the tower, but you're going to need a new key card to get to each level. So, we just got the 60th floor key card. We can get to the 60th floor, but we can't get any higher until we get the next number. On the 60th floor, this is where you play the sneaking around mini game.
Do not put stealth missions in your non-stealth game.
Agreed.
Please, if you're a developer.
It's clunky. But basically, Cloud will he'll run in front of some statues to avoid being seen by these Shinra guards who are just doing this back and forth patrol. It's very predictable and like seemingly simple, but the way that it works is just it's It's clunky. It doesn't work.
I fought my way through until Cloud was like, I guess they ran out of guards.
Yes. Yeah. If you get detected 4 times, every time you get detected, you're going to fight a couple of Shinra guards. After 4 times, it's the game's just like, whatever. Like, sorry, we tried something new. Obviously it didn't work.
Yeah. Not the best, not sending their best at that point, but they really wanted to diversify and make this dungeon in a corporate headquarters interesting.
It's cool, man.
And there's a couple misses, but overall it's very cool.
For sure.
As we'll see.
So on the 61st floor, you're gonna interact with some Shinra like board members, maybe not board members, but like some corporate stooges, and some rando thinks that you are a maintenance worker because he's like, oh, like you're not wearing a suit, you must be the help. Yeah. So he gives you the key card to the 62nd floor. Really what this is encouraging the gamer is like talk to every NPC that you can more than once, and it'll usually lead you to the next area that you need to get to.
Yeah, learn about corporate espionage a little bit here.
Yeah. On the 62nd floor, we've got the Mayor Domino puzzle. This one's not as tedious because it's kind of it's optional, but basically you meet the mayor of Midgar, who has basically been relegated to being the bookkeeper or like the librarian of like the Shinra archives.
Yeah.
And the minigame is basically you've got 4 different library sections that are, each is a different subject matter. There's like, military, there's science, there's urban development, and there's history, I think are the 4 sections of the library. And in each of those libraries, you're going to find one book that's in the wrong section. There's going to be a number associated with it. And then you got to have the thought to take that number, find out what letter that would be in the alphabet, and then it'll spell out the password that Mayor Domino wants you to guess. It's all 4-letter words, and it's random every time you play. It's not going to be the same thing. That's one of those, like, this rewards replay in that sense. Actually, I take that back. It rewards nothing. It's not a fun game.
Wait, which part of it's random?
What the password is.
Oh, I thought it was always so I have my playthrough running, and at first I thought it was always best. Like, no, and then he's like, Mayor Domino's the best.
It's different every time because for this game, it looks like it was king was the word, and for my playthrough, it was bomb.
Interesting. So I had no idea.
He's got dialogue options for every one of those words.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa.
And if you guess the password at the first try, you get what does he give you? Oh, it's actually good. He'll give you an elemental materia, which is quite useful at this point of the game.
That, huh?
That'll do, like if elemental materia, I don't know how much we're going to talk about that, but like if I were to put an elemental materia and link it to a fire materia on my weapon, all of my attacks would do fire damage. It's pretty dope. Or if I attached it to fire on my armor set, I would be protected against fire.
Yeah.
It's just a cool variable to the combat. But that's that.
Yeah, and that's where you learn that he's this sort of joke of a mayor.
Yeah. He has checked out.
One more fun fact from that translation series I learned is his assistant that's there in the translation, the English translation is named Hart. But in the original Japanese, it's Hut, so that it's Domino and Hut, and it's just a pizza joke.
That
because
rules.
They are
the damn pizza.
Of gosh darn pizza.
Holy cow! God, that rocks. Cute. That rocks. I can't wait to watch that. Tim Rogers, I'm coming for
it
in a nice
of great
way.
Little details in that series.
Let's see. On the 63rd floor, that is where you have the rec area. I'm sorry, no. The 63rd floor is where the item coupons room puzzle. where you.
If you're me, you just guess your way through.
I just skipped it. I didn't even bother.
I didn't know you could skip it. I think I figured that out after I had done it. I got some items in it that I don't remember exactly what they were.
The best case scenario items that you could get from the 63rd floor room puzzle would be a star pendant, which I think that protects against poison.
I think I got that.
You can get a 4 slots armor, which it just has 4 materia slots, and I think that's the only thing it really adds a bonus
which
for.
Kind of stinks. It's a lower defense.
Yeah,
than what you already have if you purchase the most
useful
stuff. So they really thought like people are going to be materia heads. They're really going to want to stack up.
And if you stick with me on in Shinra Tower of where you want to start using steel, you're going to get much better armor than that 4 slots. But and then the other the most important piece that you can get from this puzzle would be an all materia, which is very very useful. Because at this point in the game, I only have 1 all materia. And I always equip it to a magic user who's going to use fire because you tend to encounter more biological enemies than you do mechanical enemies at this point in the game, and fire is super effective against humans and monsters, whereas bolt is effective against robots and whatever's. The 64th floor, that's the rec area where you can save, you can
specifically heal. Recreational area of At first you said rec and I thought like the destroyed floor.
Oh no, it's like the rec room.
Yeah. That makes sense.
There's nothing else in there for now. You'll come back at some point. We'll get to that way later.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was running around in here. I was like, man, it'd be cool to put a mini game or two, in here.
Oh, sure, like a boxing, because there's the what are those called? Punching bags, and treadmills, and
and it's around this area in the remake that they put in there's like a battle simulator, and that's sort of like the end game. Like mega bosses, that's how you find them, and like some items and stuff are through spending a lot of time in this battle simulator. Cool. That's I don't know if it's on exactly a recreational floor like this, but it's similar. Yeah.
Interesting. The 65th floor, that's where we have the city puzzle, and the city puzzle is essentially there's a big model of Midgar in the
puzzle
center
with a question marks, right?
There's a lot of ellipses. It was like a puzzle ... We're really like it's you walk around until you find there's a bunch of chests on this floor that are locked, but one of them is unlocked, and inside there's a Midgar city piece. You insert it into the model of Midgar, and then when you do so, another chest unlocks. You find it. I was actually lucky enough to like do all the chests correctly the first time, so there was no like senseless running around.
So that was going to be my question. Is there an order you have to do them? I thought it would just the way it went so smoothly for me. I was like, so I guess just whichever chest you go to is open, and then wherever you go to in the model, it'll pop in. That was what it felt like to me.
I think you just got lucky because it seems, as I'm looking at this guide, and it's got an image of all the chests, and there's chest A, B, C, D, E, and F, and you do them in a sequence. So I think you just lucked out, and you're just so good at video games.
Just intuitive. I just sensed it from my childhood, I guess.
I know. I've repressed so much from my childhood, but I remember everything from Final Fantasy VII.
I mean, that's what that was. Oh, maybe I didn't. Okay, I see. I'm watching my playthrough. I did miss one or two.
Yeah.
That's what this game was for.
So on this floor, no. Stick with me. On the 66th floor, that is where you sneak in to a ductwork from the bathroom. And from your vantage point, you're able to spy on a Shinra boardroom meeting. And then at this meeting, we've got Palmer from the Space Department, Scarlet, who's a mean lady, Reeve. Reeve is the conscientious objector who...
he ain't all clean, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see more of him later.
And then we meet Hojo. Hojo,
real psycho freak.
Hojo is an interesting evil man.
Yeah.
What we know about him right now is they ask Hojo about his subject that he's testing on, and he basically summarizes that the research needed on this subject outlives his natural life. Like, he's like, I'm not going to live long enough to finish the research on this. It's going to take 120 years before we can get enough data out of this subject. So I've decided to force breed it so we can get new subjects. I mean, he's
on some real Nazi shit.
the words taken from my mouth. This is some Dr. Mengele Nazi science.
Yeah.
He's an evil man. And President Shinra, he's like, hell yeah. Also, I'm gonna hike. We're gonna do a little Mako rate inflation. And the excess is we're gonna make some money off all this crazy shit going on.
Mm-hmm. Do they also say here that somebody, I think it's Reeve, is saying like, we got to rebuild that sector that
That's
went
right.
down, and they're like, nah, dude, Neo Midgar, let's go.
Yeah, it's like we've decided to worry less about local infrastructure and instead to increase our borders and do all the good colonializing that is needed in order to live in this modern world.
Yeah, we're going full fash, baby.
I mean, so with Hojo saying that he's like, oh, we're gonna need to breed this one, it's like that sent chills up my spine, because like at this point in the game, forced breeding, or at least like non-consensual like coupling, is already a kind of prevalent theme with Tifa in the sex trafficking, and with Hojo saying that this is going to happen, and we're going to get even more of that. So very light trigger warning for that. We're going to try to use some sensitive language concerning that, but
it's not a good world.
It is not a good world. There's a dilemma for the women of Midgar that is sadly all too true to real world.
Yeah, which actually makes Scarlet an interesting character, that she fits in by playing like she's one of the boys.
She's a Ghislaine.
She and it's really played up in the remake.
Yeah.
She literally uses soldiers as footstools.
That's so hot. Oh no, I'm gonna have to play that with the lights out.
Like, there's like a scene where they cut to her and it's like her feet up on a Shinra soldier who's on all fours.
Jesus
like
Christ.
They really play
out
that
mouth.
She just like wields this patriarchal power along with the boys, that we're seeing as such a problem in this organization.
I hate that that's so hot. I hate that I'm just immediately like, ugh. Okay. Anyway, we follow Hojo up to the 67th floor.
Yeah, things start getting real weird.
Okay. The 67th floor is where shit is about to get real. But before we get to the story beats, campers, if you're trying to get some good gear early in the game, this is where you want to start using steel. There's 2 enemies that will yield the best armor and Cloud's best weapon at this point. Because right now we're still using the Buster Sword from
you
day
can get
one.
one of his weapons here.
It's the hard edge sword.
God dang!
So the 2 enemies that you want to keep an eye out for are one is called a moth slasher. It's a floating robot with like spikes on like this like tube, or on this like orb. It's a pretty unique looking enemy, but they're pretty common too. You'll encounter them in groups a lot of the time, and you can steal a carbon bangle from them. Just for like context, I think I had a mithril armlet at this point, which offered 18 defense. The carbon bangle gives you 32 defense.
God dang.
Really, really helps. And then the hard edge, I think the numbers are about the same, where it's like Cloud's Buster Sword has a base of 18, and the hard edge, I think, also has a damage output of 32 from the get-go. And it's cool. It's like a stubby looking sword. It's pretty cool. But you can steal that from the soldier 3rd class. You'll recognize them as wearing the same outfit that Cloud has, and it looks like they have like lances instead of Buster Swords. But from them you can steal the hard edge, and it's a game changer. Absolutely. Like Cloud's damage is going to almost be like, especially, okay, to talk about stealing as like a component in the game that really almost like ruins the overall gaming experience for me, because I have to steal the stuff because it's a compulsion and it's a part of my journey to mental health. But when it's like catching Pokemon. You need to get them down to the lowest health before you can really hope to get to steal stuff. I think, at least that's how I always play it. But you give, at this point in the game, give Tifa the steal materia because she's got the highest dexterity, and that controls the success in of steal materia. Now, the reason I say that Cloud's damage output is a problem, because he'll be strong enough that my character is literally just killing base enemies with one slash from his sword at every attack now, and that basically takes Cloud out of the rotation if I'm trying to steal stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I am burdened with too much joy right now. Like I've got so much to enjoy out of this game, but I also have to like see it through and get the best stuff.
It's nice that you have that option, because I'm just plowing through, not thinking too hard about like strategy. I'm not grinding at all. I'm way lower levels than like what you've mentioned. I've noticed looking at the playthrough.
Yeah.
And I'm not having trouble in any way. Like it's fair to any type of player.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it's not necessary to play like I am, but I like numbers.
But you can.
I like those big numbers. Oh, big numbers. So, but also we see the most horrifying / arousing thing that this game has to offer.
Oh, hell yeah, we do.
So there's this like tube. This is very, very reminiscent of Akira. There's a lot of Akira in Final Fantasy VII. If you've read the manga, there's so much that could be derived almost directly from Akira in Final Fantasy VII. Even if you've just seen the perfect animated feature, you'll see some parallels. But there's this. I mean, it looks like it's like a vacuum chamber, or like some sort of testing chamber with like a submarine door on it, or whatever that is, like the wheel that like controls the lock on it.
A very heavy, turning lock on the door. And
well, we see well, first we meet Red 13, which Hojo refers to as a precious specimen. And that's just like, it's like, we're like, what's this dog, lion, cat thing? Like, whatever. We'll get to that later. But then Cloud walks up to this chest, like, chamber door, and he's like, Jenova. And then he looks in. We see a bound, headless torso with eyeball nipples.
A single eyeball nipple.
Oh, yeah.
It's I mean, do you have like memory of the first time you saw this at all?
I mean, I was 11 years old. I don't think so.
For me, I feel like vaguely a memory of like, was that a nude female body, but also it was a monster, and it's like so fast, you just like, you can't even really comprehend it.
Right. It's a weird little brief image, and you can't see it again. You can't like go up to it and look at it. Cause I actually, while playing this, I looked away at the wrong second, and I was like, oh fuck. And so I had to go on YouTube and like actually like find the play footage, because I'm not recording my stuff. And I just like had to like linger on I took a screenshot of it just cause I was like, this is so weird. And it's like effective in just setting the most unsettling tone that this game has to offer.
Yeah. And it'll persist throughout the rest of this, for lack of a better term, dungeon. that we're, about halfway through here.
Yeah. But Cloud makes mention, he's like, did Sephiroth bring this here? So there's a connection that is already being established between this weird thing named Jenova and Sephiroth, who we've never even met yet.
Mm-hmm.
And all Barret has to say is, where's its fucking head? He's like, this is weird. I don't like this.
Yeah. And this entire drag through the rest of this section
In Shinra Tower
is like this very long but very well paced reveal of your villain.
Oh yeah.
Basically from here to the end of what we'll talk about in the next episode.
Yeah.
Man, it's so good. It's so good.
Can't wait to get to some very specific imagery that we'll get to. Very cool.
Think of anybody that's done anything like this in any game.
The closest that I ever came to as a gamer at this point would be Ganondorf in Ocarina of Time, where he's got some buildup and there's a lot of talk around him, and you get to see some very brief glimpses of his power before you ever have to fight him.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about like literally like two, like if we're talking about Sephiroth and Ganondorf, like side by side, like two of video games' greatest villains, like that are gonna stand the test of time. I think Sephiroth's a much more interesting villain than Ganondorf.
Yeah.
Only because he's given so much more. I mean, he's got 3 discs, not just 1 cartridge. It does come to basically just like they had more space to flesh out this villain.
Yeah. Well, I'd say it's like from this moment, from when you first look in that chamber,
yeah,
and you see this Jenova, and Cloud associates it to this Sephiroth guy who we've heard his name once or twice at this
President
point.
Shinra worships the guy apparently, and like Cloud joined Soldier because he wanted to be like Sephiroth.
Yeah,
and like that's all we really know about him at this point.
And then it's gonna be 4 or 5 hours of beats of like
we'll get to
reveals
my absolute favorite next episode
to his motivation and yeah, I guess we'll have to just come back to this when we hit some of the big climaxes, but it's like here's where like, oh, this game has really started.
Yes.
Is when you look in that thing. And it's all tension building that like you as a first time player just like, I gotta keep learning more. I gotta keep learning more. Give me more. What is going on?
Absolutely.
So let's get more.
Yeah, brilliant game. So Hojo referred to that dog, cat, lion animal as his precious specimen.
Dog, cat, yeah.
I mean, what the fuck is he? We don't know.
He's more cat and lion than dog.
Well, he's just a cute little buddy.
Yeah.
But we follow Hojo up to the 68th floor through like a cargo elevator, and we catch Hojo as he's about to force breed Aerith with this dog animal.
Right. So, my thought here is like, wait, Hojo's not just evil; he's kind of an idiot. It's like I could put these 2 completely different species in a chamber together, and they're just gonna quote unquote breed for me.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like a 5-year-old doing evil science.
Yeah.
Now you're a mommy.
Like he did not think this through.
I don't know, man. I mean, or it's just it gives you some insight into like what he's accomplished. I mean, because he's like the head scientist of the most evil organization.
Yeah.
So therefore, maybe he's like, oh no, I found a way to get like dogs to knock up women.
I don't know. Just assuming biology works at all like it does in the real world. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
And evil.
Oh, I have to make a correction. We just saw Barret solve something with a gun.
Did he shoot the chamber open?
Yeah, because Aerith's in this like force field chamber. What we learn is Red 13 comes up and he starts to menace her. Barret shoots the doors. Hell yeah, gun arm.
Yeah.
You see, guys, sometimes guns do solve problems.
Yeah, and it seems like the way it works is the like sort of all the happenings inside the chamber like sort of distort Hojo when it becomes open from being shot at. Red 13 just starts scarfing on him. I mean, if Red 13 was smart, he'd murder him.
He would have ripped that guy's throat out.
Yeah. Instead, he just sort of subdues him temporarily.
Yeah.
But we need game. We need game to happen. So that's fine.
Yeah. And then we're tasked with a decision again, as we always are. Everything is a decision. Do we want either Barret or Tifa to save Eris, to take her to somewhere safe while the rest of the gang pursues President Shinra? So I had Barret take Eris.
Same.
And Tifa stayed with Cloud and Red 13. No, actually, I'm. Oh, right. Never mind. So, Red 13. We get to meet him, but then we're immediately launched into a boss fight.
Yeah.
With sample H0512 and its little like offspring, which are sample H0512-OPT. This fight is pretty. I don't want to be a broken record, but it's a pretty straightforward fight. Don't worry about the minions. Just put all of your efforts into killing the big guy. I have to say that this monster looks like something straight out of Resident Evil, which thematically makes sense, being a bioweapon that has been created by an evil scientist in a soulless corporate monarchy.
And like when we learn where the monsters of this world come from later,
much later, yeah.
And then reflect back on this thing, it makes it even weirder and grosser.
Yeah.
Fun fact that the latest expansion of Final Fantasy XIV, minor spoiler for that, for anybody who hasn't played the first 250 hours of the game. Part of the storyline is people are turning into monsters, and one of the bosses is this thing all glowed up.
Cool.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah,
That's dope.
And like one of its attacks is it will like telegraph like mouths on the ground, and you have to like run to where there's not a mouth to swallow you or whatever. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So boss fight, pretty straightforward. I mean, if we go through it, he's got only 1,000 HP. You can't steal anything. He doesn't give you that much experience or gil or AP. It's just a low level boss. If you're playing it, like, do not focus at all on the minions. They'll just keep being revived. Just let all your guys just wail on the boss. Yeah, the party now splits into two parties. I've got Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith in my party, and then Barret and Red 13 on their own ones. Typically, while playing, I would usually just keep Barret and Tifa with me because they're my most powerful players. They make the numbers they make the big numbers. I like big numbers. But I just, like, in my heart and soul, I was like, I can't abandon Eris at this point. Like,
nah, dude.
She's like,
she's always in my
I'm
party.
Literally her bodyguard. So I have to protect her body.
She's weak as heck, but she's always in my party.
Yeah. And I like having a dedicated healer in my party as well.
And if I have the patience for it, I might try to get her level 4 limit break.
I was thinking the exact same thing, buddy. It's gonna happen. Because I have never bothered. I'm not gonna say why. But next we got an elevator ambush. You guys all go into the your team, they get into the elevator and they get ambushed by I think it's Rude of the Turks. And he's like, the president wants to talk to you. And we get a nice little villain monologue from President Shinra about the promised land. And basically, like, it's like, okay, it's like if ExxonMobil was like, we have found the literal physical place, heaven, and we're going to make money off of it, baby.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay. I think we're missing the point, but that's okay because profits are important. You know, we need to keep those stocks looking real big.
I mean, isn't that basically like what Mormonism is?
I don't know enough about Mormonism to
It's
be
like
too
America
judgmental.
is heaven, is the promised land. And I don't know. Maybe that's not specifically Mormonism, but I think there's definitely elements of Christianity that head that way.
Yeah.
Like I personally feel like a lot of American Christianity is just worship of American consumerism.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
It's to justify.
and justifying
Yeah.
our right to it. And this is very similar.
Yeah, absolutely. And your team gets imprisoned. After talking a little bit more about what Aerith is, we learn the word Cetra for the first time, and we're going to get a better explanation of that a little bit later. But basically, it seems the Cetra and the Ancients are analogous, although the Cetra are the ones we'll get to it later. But it's we're getting a little lore dump and a little bit more villain. He's twirling his mustache right now. President Shinra is. And
he's doing his end zone dance a little early.
That's right. I like that. Yeah. So Cloud and Tifa and Barret, they've got handcuffs on. I don't know how handcuffs work on Barret, but whatever. But then Red 13, he's just sitting there like a good boy. he's like, oh, you don't need handcuffs for me.
He's got a shock collar on or something.
Oh, that'd be sad. Oh man. I adopted a very old dog, and her previous owners used a shock collar on her, and that just breaks my heart. I can't imagine doing that to a dog.
Yeah.
Don't do that, folks. Campers, we don't shock our dogs. We just give them treats and pets. You go to the apparently this corporation has its own jail.
Why not, dude?
Sure.
Actually, I mean, it makes sense. It's on Hojo's like specimen floor. So they're like specimen containers.
That's dark. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't even make that connection. That makes perfect sense though.
Yeah.
Ah, fuck.
So you're thrown in these specimen containers.
But interestingly enough, Cloud and Tifa share a cell. Aerith is on her own, and Barret and Red 13 share a cell. And then you get to choose who you talk to first. Looks like Junior Counselor Josh. He's really concerned about his waifu, Aerith.
Of course,
and
dude.
so he checks on her first.
Yeah, and I love the way this happens. Is this sort of like hangout moment?
Yeah.
Right before things are going to get real twisted.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, Aerith brings up the date that she owes Cloud. Tifa's kind of like, oh, it's like that. And he's like, no, but yeah, I guess. I don't know, maybe.
Cloud's just a dummy to all of this.
He's just like, I'm just trying
I am asexual, aromantic. Like, I'm just a guy with a big sword.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on here.
He's like John Holmes. Big sword. Yeah, and the dialogue between Barret and Red 13. Red 13 is just like,
so funny,
Grandpa.
And then Barret's like, Grandpa ass loving mother.
Yeah. Oh, this bitch loves his grandpa.
He loves his grandpa.
Nerd. We'll get to his wonderful grandpa later. So then you go to bed. I guess. Oh yeah, Cloud takes the floor while Tifa takes the bed, like a gentleman he does. And you wake up, and the doors open, and there's a blood trail just leading out of the jail area.
Dude,
shit rocks.
Yeah, this is one that like really stands out the first time I experienced it. Like
menace.
What?
It is menacing.
Like this is one of my first times. Like this is like an early memory of like, wow. A not horror video game is actually like I'm spooked.
Yeah, the music is nice and chilling. It's got that kind of like dollhouse music kind of thing going on. It's very, very creepy. And you follow the blood trail. It takes you back past Jenova, the Jenova cell, and then you go to the area where Aerith was being held prisoner with Red 13. And we're gonna get into the next other thing that kind of. Oh, and the Jenova cell has been broken open.
Yeah. The blood trail starts at the Jenova cell.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Even in the combat, the floor is bloody.
Yeah.
This is a great attention to detail. They did not have to do that, and they really knocked it out of the park. But enemy skill materia. You find the enemy skill materia in the laser barrier chamber on the testing floor, and I love and hate enemy skills because it's a list that you can complete. And in order to gain an enemy skill, you have it's another yellow materia that you keep equipped. And when you first get it, it has no use at all. But keep it equipped, and sometimes your character will get attacked by an enemy with a specific attack that they can then learn and then repeat it after if they have the enemy skill materia equipped. Like stealing, it tickles that part of my brain that says, I need it all.
Yeah.
I am typically not a completionist, but as you go through, you're going to encounter much weirder monsters than you have. It seems like, whatever happened, all the monsters are loose now. And it's like a freaking massacre. Like there's dead executives everywhere. There's no real explanation until we get back up to President Shinra's office.
Right.
And this rocks.
This was another major moment in childhood gaming history.
Because we're playing this game and we're like, this is the bad guy. The bad guy usually lasts till the end of the game. Nope. This dude gets a somewhat familiar looking giant katana through his back. If we go back to the second Mako run, and we remember the flashback that Cloud has of Tifa picking up a weirdly large katana and running into a room after standing over her dead father. So nice little repeat of details. We're like, whose sword is this? Yeah. And Tifa is the one that recognizes. She goes, "Is that Sephiroth's sword?"
Yeah, and like, Cloud's like, of course it is.
Yep, only he can use it.
Yeah.
Besides Tifa, apparently. But I was just thinking about like the difference because the two main characters of Final Fantasy VII, we've got Cloud with his Buster Sword and Sephiroth with his big katana, which we'll come to learn is called the Masamune. Mm-hmm. One is girth, one's length. I mean, just kind of that I had to.
And it's worth noting, Cloud interrogates Palmer, who is hidden. Palmer's one of the obnoxious executives.
Yeah, he's head of the space program.
He's like really pressing Palmer. Like, did you really saw Sephiroth? Like, he asked him a couple times.
Yeah, and he spills the beans, man.
Yeah. And then he escapes, and all of a sudden we're like very quickly told, like, well, Vice President Rufus, some guy we've never met, the president's son, is here to take over, like immediately after his dad was murdered.
Yeah.
This gave me like major Succession vibes.
Yeah. I have to just make a mention of for a moment in the game, the team thinks that they share a goal with Sephiroth, where they're like, oh, he kind of just did what we were hoping to do all along.
Right.
And they're like, it's interesting that like he what is it? The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
But only in certain context. So yeah, Cloud runs out to fight Donald Trump Jr.
Or Kendall Roy, as it were, for the Succession fans.
What do you call yourselves if you're a Succession fan? Like, I'm a total sucker, or
a successionist.
Yeah. I've never seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah, the real cute introduction of Rufus is like everybody introduces their weird, quirky individual reason.
I own a bar.
Yeah.
I'm a flower girl. I'm the soldier, ex-soldier. I'm a dog.
And Rufus is just like,
what a crew.
Oh, yeah, what a crew.
Rufus, he's got a different approach to ruling Shinra Incorporated than his old man. Yeah. His old man wasted too much money trying to make friends, whereas Rufus, he's like, you know what? Fear is greater than love. I'm going to run it like a monster.
Yeah, it's like his dad was more of a Biden type, and he's more the MAGA type. He's like, no, just fear of everything. We're gonna make everybody too afraid to think anything other than us can save them.
I was hoping he would go more the Hunter Biden route and like, get some
I'm just gonna whip my dick out
dick
and
pics,
do
smoke some
whatever,
crack.
dude.
I love the I've just seen a lot of people that are like, yeah, Hunter Biden did pay. How much was it for sex workers? Like something like $87,000 last year or something like that.
Yeah,
It was like
cool as hell.
Was just like, yeah, like he's directly benefiting the American people.
Yeah.
Like he's contributing to the economy.
But yeah, he gives his inaugural speech, as he calls it.
Pretty,
to us.
rocks pretty hard. He's a good villain. It's like, it's nice to be like, oh, his old man, he doesn't think his old man who just wiped out an entire area code is evil enough.
Yeah, right.
That rocks. He's like, my dad's a pussy. Like,
similar to what we see with, again, modern, this sort of the MAGA that's waiting in the wings to come back here in America to the Biden, like, gee, shucks, Chad, just let them kill as many civilians as they want, you know? Like, you think that's bad.
Yeah, I know.
Wait for these guys to come back. They've got worse plans than that. That's kind of what Rufus is bringing to the forefront here. And like, as the player, you're like, wait. We just found out about this spooky Sephiroth guy. And now we've got this other guy that we haven't met yet who's also announcing how evil he is.
We got this.
Things are bad.
We got this wicked Nepo baby.
Yeah. Things are bad if you're the player right now. And you're very confused about it.
My blood pressure just went up so high. So Cloud is like, okay, I'm going to kill this yuppie real quick. Everyone get out of here. It's just me and him. I like a one-on-one fight. I'm a man of honor.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but whatever.
It really is weird. It was like I see 5 eligible people who could kill this man right now.
We could all just like gang up on him and throw him off the roof so fast.
Kill
right
that
now.
guy. But no, it's Cloud versus Rufus and a dog. And Rufus has a sawed-off shotgun. Rocks pretty hard. He's just like blasting at Cloud, not doing very much damage. He's not a very big threat.
Yeah. Before that fight, we do the other fight, right? The fight in the elevator?
Yep, you're totally right.
Yeah.
Right. So in this case, Aerith, Barret, and Red 13 are the new team. And if you're playing along, that's a time where you want to equip Aerith and Red 13 with some lightning materia specifically. But as long as they've got something that is not just their physical attacks, because it's another component that this next fight, it's an elevator fight against some robots. First fight is just like this cool looking tank. I love how the robots tend to look in this game. There's a couple that are just like silly. I remember giving praise to the Airbuster last episode, and then I like really looked at it. I was like, no, that just looks like a dumb vacuum cleaner. But this looks pretty cool. It is called the 100 Gunner. It's got it's just got 2 Barret machine gun arms and some weird looking treads. I don't know. It's like a cool robot. But Barret, just have him shoot at it. Red 13, Aerith, have him use Bolt if you got enough of it, or Fire. It does a little less, but Bolt is super effective against it.
Yeah, I'm like surprised at how versatile like your magic, your just like simple the magic usage is, or I don't know if the word is. Like, I've never so far had to think about like, oh, should I be conserving MP at all? I'm just like, whatever, just blast away with magic.
You know, ethers are a lot more rare than other items. Ethers and elixirs, like you'll find a million potions and high potions, but like they are a little bit more conservative with the magic healing items, but then you find a safe spot, use a tent or a hotel or anything like that. Like you'll get a recharge, and magic doesn't, in early level magic with early level characters, the drain on your MP is negligible. Like each magic attack will use maybe 5% of your magic points.
Yeah. I just, coming from having just played the 1 through 6 pixel remasters to sort of prep for this. Like up through 5, like you actually have to do some resource management and
Absolutely.
think about things. And then by 6 is about what I was like, what I can go in anywhere I want and just blast.
Right.
Like there's not really as much thought and strategy. And the difference is they opened up the magic system in 6 and 7. That anybody can use anything.
Right.
And that kind of oversimplified the battle system a little bit.
It did. I think it turned a couple of like diehard Final Fantasy fans off as just being kind of like training wheels.
Yeah.
But it holds up very well, and it's easy to pick up.
Good time. Yeah.
It's easy to pick up, and it's fun to revisit. So there's 2 stages to this robot fight that Aerith, Barret, and Red 13 have. First one's that cool tank. The second one is called the Heligunner, and it's a helicopter with some guns, and you just keep attacking it until it stops attacking you, like most fights. Yeah, now it's Cloud versus Dog versus Nepo baby.
Yeah,
and the dog can cast Barrier on Rufus. Which is actually, I have to tell you, the name of this dog is Dark Nation.
Holy moly!
I don't know. I would love to see what that translates to, or like what the original is, because that doesn't make sense.
Wild. That's woo.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But after you've done enough damage, Rufus only has 500 health, so like you could hit him with like 1 limit break, and you'll probably get a good track on him.
This is a fight that is greatly enhanced in the remake.
I super believe that, because it's pretty underwhelming here.
Yeah, the battle system in the remake lends itself very well to this like sort of 101 fight. And in this, I think I just blasted the dog with Bolt until it died. I felt a little bad just murdering a dog.
Always do. Have to do it every day.
Yeah. And I blasted him with the same thing, and I don't even know if I had to heal. And again, like I'm not leveling very hard.
Right.
So yeah, not a lot of challenge so far.
You do enough damage to Rufus, and he'll grab onto a helicopter and fly off. He's his father's son. But Barrier, that's a new mechanic that this game introduced. It's not new to Final Fantasy at all, but it is to this game. Introducing Barrier, and later there will be Reflect and M Barrier for magic attacks. But Barrier protects against physical attacks. M Barrier protects against magic attacks, and Reflect will reflect a magical attack back at the caster. Pretty cool stuff. Mm-hmm. And it comes in a lot of handy at certain points of the game, or you can choose to never ever use it, and that will also be fine.
Or we'll tell you where to get Mighty Guard, and that just solves all of this.
Is that an enemy skill?
Yeah,
I remember that one. Is that you get it from a turtle or something?
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah.
We'll get to it. Oh, the enemy skills. That's why I really bought a strategy guide, was so that I could get the enemy skills list complete. It's like, it's daunting. There's a lot, and it requires a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's fun. With Rufus defeated, Cloud goes back down, regroups with Tifa. Cloud and Tifa, now they're hooked. They've hooked up together after, well, not hooked up, but they've regrouped. And then down at the entryway, if you were to run into the front door of Shinra HQ, guns blazing, instead of taking the long stairwell, you'll recognize this area. But Barret, Aerith, and Red 13, they are getting like pinned down by like gunfire from outside, and then Cloud comes out and this is one of my favorite FMVs of the entire game.
Yeah, this is like one of those ones that you could tell this is where they put all the money.
It's so cool, because we've talked a little bit about the different character models for each of the characters. How everybody has like 3, I think. They've got the like super low poly overworld one.
Yeah,
they've got their battle character model, and then they've got their CG movie model. And
those differ as well. Sometimes they use like the low poly. Yeah,
it's weird, but
this is like the highest fidelity one that they will use.
This is me like early internet days. I found a website. It might even be through rpgamer.com.
Oh yeah, dude.
All of the FMVs of this game. I downloaded that shit and just played it on loop.
Yep.
It just made me feel like a big man with a big sword.
Big same.
So Cloud comes like blasting down the stairs in this awesome motorcycle. Very much, and if we talk about Akira again, like the imagery of Cloud on the chopper is like straight up like oh my God. I used to play a drinking game when I'd watch Akira, and anytime someone yells someone else's name, you take a drink, you will lose consciousness if you try to do that. Don't do it. Although try it. Maybe just do it with beer. But don't drink an entire beer. You do. Just take a sip. A little sip. Don't drink too hard. And then we get okay, so Barret is in the back with Red 13, and Tifa and Aerith are in the front of this cute little 3-wheeled truck. As a farmer,
style.
I get a lot of advertisements for these little Japanese trucks now, because you can buy them for like $2,000 or $3,000. Like,
oh, nice.
And like they have the same like truck bed size as these giant fuck off trucks that we have here.
Yeah,
like
big tanks.
The big F1. Literally, I saw a graphic that the Ford F-150, the newest model, is larger than a Sherman tank from World War II.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's so stupid.
That fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And especially like when you look at like old trucks have the same size bed. There's no reason to make them this big.
What's really funny to me about it is how all these idiots have been like duped, that the what do you call it? Car makers, the manufacturers and their marketing teams figured out like, oh, we were sort of narrow casting our buyers by saying like the sports car is the way, like
that's the luxury vehicle.
No, is the thing you buy is like, this is my big swinging dick, right?
Oh yeah.
And they started making it trucks. And then they made trucks because they were like, yeah, every man has a truck. Yeah. Only like big city libs have sports cars.
Sure.
And now they can charge as much for a truck as they charge for those luxury cars.
Yeah.
But like the rural idiots or like the suburbanites who think that
that's the main demographic, is these assholes in the suburbs
Yeah.
who never even use it for any sort of
but
like
they
labor.
think it's like, oh yeah, I'm a working man.
It's a Buster sword.
Yeah, exactly. You get it. Anyway, we get the motorcycle mini game.
Pretty fun.
Yeah,
I really enjoy it.
Which, if you're watching my playthrough, I don't know, my settings were kind of screwy, so it looks crummy. But as I was playing it, I was like, oh, I think this is pretty 60 FPS ish. It's smooth.
Yeah,
I was shocked.
It feels so good to get a solid. So you're protecting the truck from enemy motorcyclists. Different colored motorcycles have different behavior. Did you know about that?
No, I just swing away.
Yeah. So let's see. The chase. Yeah, there's orange bikes, red bikes, and I think blue bikes as well. But one bike is specifically going to target the truck, where other ones are going to like lead you away from it so that other ones can come in. And they'll get into that later when you can replay this as a mini game in a particular place that we'll get to in a couple episodes. As long as the truck doesn't sustain enough damage and like there's little health indicators of all the players, you'll be fine. It's a nice, fun, like 2-minute game and a little mini game. This is a mini game that worked for me.
Oh yeah. It's pretty good.
But then, while you're still in this mini game, this massive like so monster good. Truck devil monster called the Motor Ball, and it runs up on you. It's got these spiky tires. It looks like it kind of looks like the Airbuster sized robot, except it's got like treads or like tank wheel things going with it. It's aggressive. It starts the battle right off with doing damage to your entire party. And if you didn't properly equip your team with materia, which has happened to me in previous playthroughs, this could be a game-stopping fight.
Like, I think I had somebody who was unequipped and that just could only attack in this fight. I don't recall. I'll see in the playback here. But yeah, it could catch you off guard.
Yeah. And he attacks you from the rear, so your order is backwards. And we could talk about order a little bit in fights where, for example, Barret, keep him in the back. because he's a long distance fighter most of the time. And distance doesn't mean anything to the value of his attacks. But if you put Cloud in the back, or if you have him in the front attacking an enemy that's in their rear formation, it's going to do significantly less damage with melee attacks. Magic, no big deal. That's a distance attack as well. But with the guy coming at you from the back, we've now got Aerith in the front, which you want to keep her in the back because you're not going to depend on her physical attacks. It mixes it up. There's always these little deviations that the game likes to take.
And if you had thought ahead, which I didn't, you could have prepared for that if you knew what was coming. But other than that, you just beat the crap out of him.
Yeah,
same as the rest.
This enemy has 2,600 health. I think it's the most that we've encountered at this point. He's 5 Rufus fights in one. And Bolt does have double effect on him. So anytime in this game, if you have a question about what to use, if it's mechanical, use Bolt. If it's an animal or a human, use Fire. That'll typically do some more damage. And defeating it, you get a star pendant. So this is the second star pendant that you could collect in this game at this point. We're about to round this one out, man.
Yeah, dude.
You want to talk about the next little sequence here?
So when you beat this guy, this is where we can no longer compare to the remake.
Yeah,
I could if I wanted to give major spoilers.
Nope.
It's worth noting because release-wise, we're recording this in December. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth might be out by the time this publishes. We might know what happens beyond this point. But right now we don't. Right now we only have the original canonical text of the game to work with after we beat this boss. And these next couple scenes, we'll talk about that before we hit. Like, this is... I don't know. This is like game storytelling magic to me. These first couple things, like after this fight,
setting the scene. We've got the whole team now is on they're on a severed highway that's above what I think is the wreckage of Sector 7. I can't say with certainty, but it seems to be it's just like this it's just like a diorama of dystopia where you're on this you can see the sky finally, which is nice, but there's just urban waste.
Yeah, and it's contrasted with, like you said, this is your first glimpse of there's a bigger world out there in the screen that you see right after the boss, and you see a couple stars in the sky, and this is like the team coming together moment.
Yep.
Where you go, oh, we're a team now, and we have a united mission.
Yes.
And everything up to this point could have been a standalone game, and now it is a standalone game.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
And then you climb down, and I forget the title of the song. I think it's A Head on Our Way or something. I don't know. This song does something to me. It's sort of my in the morning when I wake up and I want to have a good day. This is the melody I play in my head.
Nice.
And it's this moment of freedom, that is brought upon the player, because if you're a Final Fantasy fan, you're used to every game having this big open world map where your character's this big thing that's sort of an abstraction against a bigger world. And we've played, if it's your first time, maybe 6 or 7 hours. I think I was about 5.5 on this playthrough.
Oh, see, I'm at 10.
Yeah. That you've been confined in this pizza, and I've never experienced a video game moment like this, where you have this hangout moment with all your characters, and this really, I don't know how to describe the music other than calming. You just have this beat to catch your breath after this whirlwind set piece you've been through for the last several hours. And it's really, really good. I think I have my footage on screen right now. Like I just hung out here for just 5 minutes.
That's I have to say that my gameplay length is going to be a little inflated because I tend to leave it sitting a lot of the time too. One of the reasons I like Final Fantasy is because I like the music so much. So I will just like let it roll, like because the soundtrack keeps going and it'll set a nice tone as I maybe take a break from gaming and go do the dishes or I go touch grass or something. But in this scene that you're describing, after escaping Midgar, it's I would say if I were to like read into what's really going on here, this is Avalanche kind of disbanding because all of the original members died, and the team elects Cloud as their leader. Barret has to kind of swallow his pride because he's the leader of Avalanche. He's used to calling the shots, but Aerith is the one that suggests Cloud be in charge, which I think is another important role that she plays, where she's like, she recognizes that what Cloud might need, what he's been missing is responsibility for someone other than himself. So when she first met him, when they first really got to talk, she immediately was like, I need you to take care of me because I think that'll be good for you and it'll help me. Because she didn't really, when you think about Aerith, like she didn't really need Cloud's help, like in escaping the Turks or in like getting to sector.
She's proven she can handle herself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it was more that she kind of appealed to Cloud's ego by saying like, oh, Whittle me needs a Whittle bodyguard. I need a man. Yeah. And like it works, but Avalanche seemingly disbands and whatever we would call Cloud's team is the new, that's now what's operating. Barret he steps down as leader, but he suggests that they regroup at a village called Calm outside of Midgar. I chose to take Aerith and Tifa with me because it broke my heart to separate them because I didn't want either of them to feel neglected. And I was like, Barret, like, sorry, you got to go with our new animal friend. Like, hopefully, I mean, they sure to sell, so it kind of made sense emotionally speaking. Yeah. I really couldn't. I mean, maybe this is speaking to like some much deeper psychological issues that I'm a people pleaser maybe, but like I didn't want to disappoint Tifa or Aerith. Like I wanted to keep them both close, and when I did so, Barret goes, "I thought you'd choose that." Yeah, and then he just kind of like sadly walks away. Yeah, broke my heart. But like that, I mean, we have not really talked that much about like the love triangle dynamic with Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa. And this is where, like, I think in the fandom, like, there are a lot. I'm Team Tifa, like, just in general, only because I know her better at this point in the game. And I have a hard time in large groups of people. And I like keeping it small and to the people that I'm closest with. And I think, like, Cloud and Barret butt heads a lot, like in dialogue in terms of like their character dynamic, and like Cloud gets along great with Aerith and Tifa. So I was like, and also like as a younger person, like I always was like, and as a human being in general, I was like, I trust women. I want to keep women around more than anything else. And it was like my instinct was just to be like, yeah, keep both of the women, not for pervy reasons.
Yeah. I that's what I chose as well, and it was. I'm not really entirely sure. I was just like, I know I'm always gonna have Aerith in my party because that's who I trust and believe in with all my heart. I don't know. I didn't really think that hard about the choice of adding Tifa as well, but I did appreciate getting the fun line from Barret.
I thought you'd do that.
Yeah, you would, you perv. But then once we've made that selection, we get the incredible reveal of the world map for the first time. And the
music that accompanies.
Overworld music is one of the greatest pieces of video game music ever written.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right on par with anything Koji Kondo did. Like, this is like iconic forever music. It's going to outlast anything that this game offers in terms of gameplay. It is it's here to stay.
Yeah, and we talked about this, I think, in the first episode about this is where the remake slips up, is by taking these monumentous reveals that are aided by the soundtrack and just blows them on a much smaller moment.
They couldn't wait. They couldn't wait.
Yeah, they couldn't just hold back.
Yeah.
So we've already heard this song, and which makes me very curious to see, like, all right, where are we going to open on Rebirth? What are we going to be using for the soundscape, for the music? And it just raises a lot of questions because also there's a lot of major spoilers from the end of Remake I'm just glossing over.
Yeah.
That I'm just very excited and curious, and I need to try to block any more discussion of it online because Square's been giving away a lot.
They have. Well, they just can't. Like, Final Fantasy VII is the bread and butter. I'm not saying that like disparagingly. Like they figured out that like fans are going, because I mean it's the same reason why we're doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it's like if you listen to these past 6 hours, it's like I hope you understand why.
It's so important to so many people because it was the first of its kind that appealed on an emotional level to the gamer. And I mean, Final Fantasy VI did a lot of that legwork too, in terms of like making you care about the characters and like making you see things.
But this, like, it refined it. It took that step to 3D, and then they marketed the ever living crap out of it to make it a lot of people's like first experience or whatever,
or a lot of people's first PlayStation game in general.
Yeah,
like it's responsible for an empire. And I think we're gonna leave the conversation at that for this week. The only other big part that going to the overworld introduced immediately that I was like, oh, thank God, you can save anywhere.
Yeah,
you can save anywhere in the overworld, which is a huge quality of life, especially like improvement in terms of playing it on original hardware where like I on my Switch, I can just put it to sleep and it'll pick me right back up wherever I was without having to worry about saving, as long as I don't turn my system off or close the app or whatever it is. Like I've got no problems. Like I could probably play the entire game without saving once. I would never do that, but because again, what if I had a critical failure and I lost my save or something, whatever. The life is full of chaotic opportunity, but having the overworld and just seeing how large it is, and also like literally clouds touching grass, like it's good. Like after being in this dystopian hellscape, like it's nice to see some green and blue and not just gray and black and sad and neon and sex.
Yeah, it's just like it's such an exciting moment as a player to go, oh my God, that was only one tiny corner of this world. Yeah. What am I in for?
It's very eye-opening to what this game was able to accomplish. I mean, and
they did a good job. They did a good job.
A plus. Campers, we indulged in this one, didn't we? We really.
We made a meal out of that.
I'm just glad. I'm so happy to be doing this. It's cathartic in the sweetest and most purest sense. Like going through Final Fantasy VII is a treat. I'm like, I remember the last time I played through was probably 8 years ago. You know what? Just to keep in line with the themes, it was 7 years ago. But I was going through some stuff at that point, and I seeked the comfort of Final Fantasy VII. And at this point in my life, I'm not going through some hard stuff in the same way that I was back then. And it is just a nice presence. It's revisiting old friends. I remember my mother-in-law telling me about the first time she read The Lord of the Rings when it first came out. Like when she finished it, she wept because she was like, I'll never be able to like experience that for the first time.
Yeah.
That to a T describes how I feel about Final Fantasy VII, where like I grieve the fact that I'll never be able to experience this for the first time, maybe until I play the remake.
You get that remake, baby.
But going through this has just been, I'm just revisiting the parts of my life that bring me joy, and security and helps us. It encourages you to question your identity and your values. And this sounds like I'm more of a wrap up of the game as a whole. So I'm going to try to reduce what I'm doing. But
this moment feels right for it because again, it's the end. It's where the remake ends, and it's where, as of this recording, we don't know what's going to happen next with how they're going to continue the series as the empire that it is. Yeah. I am insanely excited for Rebirth. I mean, this is earlier this year. This is kind of where we're at with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Yes. And at first I was like, I overdid it. I overindulged on Zelda. And then once Tears of the Kingdom clicked, I was like, no, I'm kind of glad I had this experience.
Oh, yeah. Now, I have a question that maybe you don't have an answer to, but maybe you do. In terms of like, okay, so you played the first part of the remake. Does that have a little subtitle to it? Like Final Fantasy VII?
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Remake. Okay, so we got Remake and then Rebirth.
Yes.
Something that I liked about, and we're going to wrap up, guys.
If you're in at this point, you're in. You don't care how long
What I really loved in terms of picking up Tears of the Kingdom after we did our big Breath of the Wild discussion was the only overlap in terms of my Breath of the Wild save file and my Tears of the Kingdom save file was getting access to my horse. Mm-hmm. My sweet, sweet horse Bumby. For Rebirth. I mean, because like you finish Remake, you've got these characters that you've been leveling up, you've acquired items, materia, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to be, do you know if they're going to, like, are you going to start the next one with that stuff intact? Like if I were to just pick it up without playing Remake and just play Rebirth, is like, I just wonder what that looks like in terms of game design.
I feel like they've made statements on that. And again, at this point, I'm trying to like avoid PR and marketing. I think there's some element of carryover that they intend.
I would hope so.
Yeah. But like I said, it's we're recording this in December. We are, I don't know, 70-ish days away from its release.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. And we just hit the moment where this game has its own version of the story. Rebirth, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Campers, join us next week. We're gonna go to Calm. We're gonna get some important information, and we're gonna just keep this good time rolling, baby.
Dude, I'm stoked to keep going. I'd say we got a good chance of probably making it through like Costa del Sol on the next one.
Yeah,
that seems like a good target.
This is just in terms of like seeing how the sausage is made. This is the last episode that we're recording of 2023.
Yeah.
So to my fellow junior counselor, I would like to thank you for joining me here at Camp Video Games. It has made my life much better.
Likewise. It's been almost a year of recording.
Yep. And Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy late New Year.
Yeah.
To whoever listens to this.
And Hail Satan.
Yep. Hail Satan, like the president and the honeybee inn.
Okay, campers. So write in campvideogames@gmail.com. Tell your friends. Always looking for new campers here. Love to have you. Love to hear from you. Give us some recommendations. If you know of any other Final Fantasy VII adjacent adaptations, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know what we got wrong, what we got right. Let us know whose sword's bigger. That's all we've got for you this week. Thanks for hanging out.
The hot dogs have been restocked. I just got word.
Oh, thank God.
If you'd like to write to us, send a message to campvideogames@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram @campvideogames. If you want to become a real happy camper, you can support Camp Video Games on Patreon. For $5 a month, you'll be granted access to even more discussions about movie-based video games, game-based movies, full-length commentaries, playthroughs, and more. Whether you sign up or not, we're glad to have you here at Camp Video Games.